forward, you will service.
Feel the bass, 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 bass,
You stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder!
Wrap it up, fuzzball.
Like the night, all of them.
The Force will be with you, always.
Oh, yeah. You know exactly what it's time for.
feel the bass, 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 feel the bass.
And welcome back to your weekly Saturday night Star Wars and entertainment show that we call Echo Base Network Live. Thank you so much for all of our members being here, our mods, our subscribers, and especially our guests. Share the stream out. Thank you so much. Tonight, we go to war. Tonight, we butt heads. No, Nick is not here. That's usually when we're going to war. I know. Not tonight. Tonight, we got a different co-host. Matt Rissman will be joining me, and we're going to give two sides to Andor. We're going to finish the show tonight with member pop-ins. But before we get all that stuff, we are going to go through a slew of Star Wars news that's happening on the week. Before we do all that, thank you guys for being here. Little roll call. I did my very best today. I was running back and forth. I had to get 2 coffee refills during the pre-show. Did you enjoy the new pre-show? I hope that you did. I worked on that today and feel good. I feel good. I love making the member video is just worth it, man. And I picked some music today that kind of got me in the feels because I love Echo Base Network. And I'm not talking about the YouTube channel. I'm talking about you. So thank you guys so much for everything. Now, we have with us tonight Green Lantern 345. That Junkman is in the house. What's up, my friend? Mary Lanning is here. Bobby F65 Valiant Renegade did a great video the other day. Valiant. Aaron Ratliff, Alan Copeland, Josh Main, Venger, Ted's Nerd World, Bobby F65, Said you twice, Bobby, because you're worth it. JD636, Louise X Sparrow, Griffin Turbo, Matt Risman, T-Bone, Felix Kiros, Lynn McCangus, yes. Myron Gaines, Cody Escholtz, Donna Hergenrether. Hey, I didn't think you were going to be here, Donna. Oh, Donna. Let's see. T-Bone, Felix Kiros, Lynn McAgnus, Myron Gaines, Cody Escholtz, Donna Hergenrether, the Stanleys, John Graber, the Space Jockey. John Graber, the Space Jockey. Did you see that? Did you hear that? My man John Graber has got some things coming up on his show, on his channel. We're really looking forward to that. Let's see. Blood Guilty Gaming, Brandon Deeks, Debbie Young, Brandon the Anime Guy, Cobra Disney Jedi, Jim S. And I think that's about everybody. I think, not quite sure. If I missed you, please let me know. As always, guys, there are 4 ways that you could support us here on the channel. You could become a member, and we always try to give you guys awesome perks. Throw up the emojis, come to the watch party, pop in on the show, all this, all that. We got all kinds of things for you guys in memberships. Join us over on Patreon. House of the Dragon episode 10, the season 1 finale leaked yesterday. My boy Matt Risman let me know. I went and got it. I watched it. It's up on Patreon. You can go watch it as well. Go buy some merch. 150 different shirts over in the merch store, and we got it all. And last but not least, any and all super chats, we'll hit those from topic to topic, so we won't let it just sit and go by the wayside. We appreciate that very much. Speaking of super chats, we've got our very first one on the night. He usually sends one first on the night, and I just want to say thank you to Bobby F65 for the $20 super chat. He says, looking forward to tonight's show. Thank you, Bobby, and I hope that you pop in later tonight so we can discuss some Andor. That will be fun, and thank you for your continued support, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. We have another super chat here from our friend, our member, our moderator. He does it all. Our lightsaber specialist, Felix Kiros. I feel a sneeze coming on. No. Okay. Felix Kiros with a $5. Don't you shake your head at me, Risman. There's a $5 super chat. He says, I'm looking forward to hearing about the Andor series analysis. Hit that like button and share the stream. We are, you are, Echo Base Network. Yes, indeed, we are. And then Venger sends in a 10-pound super chat with an emoji. He is happy, and I'm glad you're happy, Lars. I know that you're going to be smiling like that when that mask comes in. I know that. I'm getting my man Lars. We're getting him the Venger mask that you see in this picture there. They released it over here in the U.S. Can't get it where he lives. So he sent me the money, and I've got it on the way here, and I will ship it to him myself because he is a friend indeed, and I want to do whatever I can to help my brother out. So thank you. And let's see. Dark Scorpion is our newest member. Welcome to the Padawan family. And I want to say this too before we even really get this thing cooking tonight. The pre-show, we roll out the red carpet, if you will, because it's part of a perk for our grandmasters and our masters. But we love our Padawans and our Jedi Knights all the same. As a matter of fact, Nick and I are revamping the outro to all of our regular videos. So we might be adding a new perk for any member to have your name flash in the credits at the end of our videos. That's something that we're considering moving forward. But Dark Scorpion, thank you so much for being here with us and joining our member family. Let's see. I have a member chat from the one and only Jedi Master Lawrence. I can't highlight it, Erica, but I can read it. She says, you missed me, coach. Why not drink coffee out of the big coffee cup? Erica, the big coffee cup is right there. And the reason, I'm sorry, it's right there. I got a guy popping his head up out of it. It's so huge. I don't drink it out of that coffee mug because I would probably have to fill it up and I would die. because it's the biggest coffee mug in the world. I might surprise you one day and pour a cup of coffee into it, but I'm drinking out of a smaller, relatively smaller coffee mug, and today I choose Happy. You know why? Because I'm happy. Yeah, I'll quit. It's not what I'm good at. You're right. I know you're thinking it. Donna Hergenrether with a $4.99 super chat. Coach, you always know how to interest me. I'm looking forward to tonight. EBN rules. Hit the like button. Well, if I tick some of y'all off tonight, I'm apologizing in advance. I'm just telling the truth. So we're just going to have a conversation. That's what it's about. But Donna, thank you so much for that $4.99 super chat. And thank you to Jedi Master Lawrence for the member chat, and Venger for the 10-pound super chat, Felix Quiros, $5 super chat, and Bobby F65 with the $20 super chat, and Dark Scorpion joining our member family. And Venger also, let me hit this as it just rolled in. He's been a member for 21 months. He said, I meant to say last episode of House of the Dragon until next year. From the trailer, it looks like Aemond One Eye fires the first shot. That starts the war, which I thought would be in season 2. Want to know how? Sure, let us know. Let us know. But I did watch the episode already, and it was really good. So anyways, thank you guys for all of the super chats, and thank you for joining our member family. We are UR Echo Base Network, and this is for you. And let's not forget our new member. Ladies and gentlemen, the man is here. He's ready to come onto the show. He's ready to tell me and everybody else about how Andor is like a 9 out of 10. It's home run. It's grand slam. He's got nothing but like hearts in his eyeballs. And I know it's going to be hard for a lot of you to make it through that. And then there's me. I'm kind of the opposite. So no matter where you are, you're going to be able to align yourself with one of us tonight. He is our brother. We love him very much, even when we disagree with him a little bit. But I do want to hear him out. So here we go. The one, the only, the moderator, the member. We're streaming on his account tonight. I'll tell you later. Anyways, Matt Rissman. Yeah.
Hello there, and a special thank you to Red Tigress for still showing up. Right,
Red Tigress, I missed her.
I can't do this again. I can't hear Rissman simping all over, but she's here, and we love her for it.
Well, let's just get the cat right out of the bag. This is not a show I want to wake up for. My alarm clock is relatively safe on Wednesday mornings. I'm not getting up till it's time to go to work.
It's a very heavy show, I have to say, honestly. My mom, who's sometimes here in the chat, she's asleep tonight, and I asked her, how she's finding the show. She said, it's so gray. She's like, everything has been so gray. She said, I really liked episode 7 because there was color, right? And things happened. I'm like, well, yeah, but it wasn't still the happiest of episodes. But I get it, right? It's a very heavy show.
It is. And guys, we're going to get into all of that tonight and more before we get into the main topic of Andor, and then we're going to have pop-ins. We're going to go through all of this pretty quickly, guys, because we want to have some time for you guys to come in. So here we go. We're going to start the show with this, Matt. Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. The titles have been released. Now, a lot of people have fallen asleep on this. Tales of the Jedi is imminent. It's nearly here. What is the release date for that show?
26th, right? So on this coming, it's the same Wednesday, right? It's this coming Wednesday. We'll have all 6 episodes of Tales of the Jedi and another episode of Andor, right? So everything is coming. It's coming. So I know you're so excited.
Yeah. So here's what's happening with Tales of the Jedi. For those of you who are not aware, you get 6 episodes. They're all dropping on Wednesday. All 6. 2 arcs in the show. There's the 3-episode Ahsoka Tano arc and the 3-episode Count Dooku arc. I'm excited about the show. I mean, I really am. Now, it's going to be a quick drink and it's over. There's not going to be any going back. There probably won't be a season 2 of this show, but there could be, I guess, if it's massively successful. If it's anything like Clone Wars season 7, the way it ended, that's a tall task to even consider it being something like that. But the point is this: we're going to have more Star Wars to take in this week. Usually, Matt, when Star Wars has something that's coming out, when there's easy content for our channel's growing. A lot of your channels grows during Star Wars seasons. Ours is not. We're right here in the middle of a show. We're making content for that show. We're doing reviews and things like that, and we're here on a live stream talking about it. Well, it seems like the interest right now with Star Wars as a whole has declined a little bit. It's happened since the Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, and now we're getting this Andor show. And, Andor could be suffering, Matt, because of the shows that came before it a little bit, in terms of viewership, interest, whatever. I totally understand that. I'm not as interested and as vested in it as I would like to be. What do you have to say about that?
100% right. And it's not only Echo Base Network, right? The other channels that I help out with and I'm involved with, whether it's Star Wars Meg or Star Wars Santa or some of the rest of them, right? The phenomenon is a consistent phenomenon, right? And I do think it has been a bit of an uphill battle, right? When we think about what we got with Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi here most recently, it's for me, it tugs a bit at the heartstrings, right? Because I have so enjoyed Andor and do really appreciate the writing and the acting and all the rest of it. But for some folks, it's been a little much, right? The fatigue, I think, is a real consideration, and it's a tough one for me. That's why I say perhaps there'll be something coming that elaborates on this further. I don't know one way or the other, but in some ways, I wish they would have released Andor before Kenobi. Right, just because I think, there is a bit of this malaise, right, which we're in the middle of right now, and it's kind of like, okay, here we go again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And Maria Espino sends in a member chat, everybody, and I can't see these, Matt, via StreamYard.
I'm watching. If you need help, I'm watching.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in the YouTube studio seeing it. She says the reason why people aren't talking about it is because Andor was released at the same time as House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. And those shows have dominated the conversations. I agree with her. I think Maria is spot on there. And everybody's not going to agree with this, but one seems to be wildly successful in terms of likability, and that would be House of the Dragon. And the other seems to be wildly successful or wildly infamous, I guess, in its dislikability, and that's Rings of Power. And Andor's kind of just in the middle of that. And that's a very peculiar place to be for this show. Star Wars isn't used to playing second fiddle to anybody. And right now it is. And I hope for Star Wars' sake, for people who are fans of Star Wars, we want to see it reigning at the top again, but we want to see it reigning at the top again, giving us content that we love. And that's going to be an interesting conversation in and of itself. Now, Matt, back to Tales of the Jedi real quick. We've got the titles of the episodes. We don't know exactly. These are not in order, they say. We don't know if these are like Ahsoka episodes or Dooku episodes.
I do think Life and Death is first, and I do think Coda is last. In the show notes, I found Bespin Bulletin posted some info as well. That's the second link where they were able to kind of put some of it a little bit more in order, right? But yes, I'm with you here, and the titles I think are correct. They're just a little jumbled from an order perspective.
So we've got Life and Death, Justice, the Sith Lord, Practice Makes Perfect, That has to be Ahsoka. Coda and Choices. I bet Choices is going to be Dooku.
Mm.
But that'll be interesting. I do have to say that I like the whole premise of the show. You getting half of the show is literally about the good, and half of the show is literally about the bad. And I like that. I like that really good balance there. Now, here's the thing that I think is throwing a lot of people off, and maybe a lot of people maybe see this as a negative, and that is the minutes of the shows.
They're shorts. They were advertised as shorts,
Yep.
right? And you know, I some of the other I follow a few folks elsewhere, obviously, and one of the clips that I follow who had gotten a screener, right? Who'd gotten a screener for these claimed, right, wrong, or indifferent, claimed that the credits are about 30 seconds. They're rapid fire credits.
Yeah.
So what they were saying is basically we could count on an aggregate of about an hour and 20 minutes ish of content. So nearly in this case, yes, these are short, but it's not like it's going to be a 10-minute episode with 3 minutes of credits. So you get 7 minutes of content. Again, 10 minutes is short. I'm with you, right? But all I'm saying is consumed together.
It's about a cartoon movie.
Yeah, it's about a cartoon movie, an hour and a half.
That's true. So, and keep in mind too, this isn't a weekly release thing. This is all at once.
All at once.
I think this thing is intended to be watched all at once, you know, or they would have released it weekly like they do everything else. You know, that's not what they're doing here. So episode 1, Life and Death, 17 minutes. You were exactly right. Episode 1, Life and Death, 17 minutes. Episode 2, 14, 13, 15. Episode 5 coming in at 10 minutes. And episode 6, Coda, at 14 minutes. So those are short. They are short for sure. But we'll see. You know, I don't mind them being short, Matt, as long as they're good.
Well, and also I'm with you there, and I think the talent is back, right? We've got Matt Lanter, we've got the voices we're familiar with.
Ian McDermott.
Ian McDermott is back. Liam Neeson and his son are there for Qui-Gon.
Ashley Eckstein.
Ashley is back, and the latest little thing that I saw was that there is a. We won't go into spoilers here, right? But Yaddle is featured in this series, and apparently she is voiced by Bryce Dallas Howard, right? So there's some cool things, and Ashley posted on her Instagram story if anyone saw, you know, the different folks who are talking. Corey Burton is here, you know, doing some things. They brought in the talent, and again, you know, there's a lot of love that goes into the animated series. Not only Dave Filoni telling the story he wants to tell, and the writing, and the music, and all the rest of it, but these voice actors, they're into it. Right, these folks have been voice acting these parts now for more than a minute. So for me, I'm like, why not? Right? It is a bit interesting though, because the advertisement has been a bit quiet. Right. That's why every time it comes up, there people are like, oh, that's next week. Really? It's coming? It's because we haven't seen, it hasn't been blasted to us, right? That it's coming ever since, at least unless I've missed it. Right. You know, it's not on Twitter, it's not out and about. So it's kind of like, here it comes. It's going to be here before we know it. It's been a bit quiet, which to me is a little disappointing because I really think it'll be an enjoyable watch.
Sure. Well, moving on in the news, guys. Speaking of a bit quiet, Ryan Johnson has popped back up, and he made some more comments about his Disney trilogy. And saying that he is still in talks. He's hoping that it's still going to happen. What's her face? What's her name? Kathleen Kennedy? Yeah. She said something to the effect of, we love Ryan and we want to work with Ryan again. It's really a matter of getting everything set up. And we're about 5 years behind schedule, so we really have to plan ahead. So, Matt, I don't think this is going to happen, and I don't think it's good for Star Wars. I don't think anybody here. I want to know what the chat thinks.
I can already see. The chat.
Yeah. When's this going to stop? You know what I mean?
So here's the issue, right? Well, there's many issues, right? But I feel like, you know, Ryan's out and about now. You know, Glass Onion and the Knives Out trilogy, and you know, and when he's out talking about that, people ask him again, well, what about But about Star Wars and your interest and what's going on, and I think his interest is genuine, right? Whether or not it happens or not, and scheduling and all the rest of it, okay, probably not, right? But when it comes right down to it, I do think we have some tentative confirmation again that the next Star Wars movie is going to be December of 2025. It's on there. It's still on the production schedule, and there has been some scuttlebutt, and some of the other folks I talked to who are closer to that behind the scenes, they seem to think that's likely, right? And so it really begs the question: who is directing which movie, right? Is it Taika? The thing that's most interesting to me is we don't appear to have a lot of interest for folks directing a Star Wars movie right now for 2025. Right, everyone seems to be very tentative about it, and I get it after Rise of Skywalker and some of the rest of it, right? But that's been now, by the time we get to 2025, that'll be 6 years ago, right? And so I'm not saying I necessarily want Rian Johnson to be the next Star Wars movie director, but I would like for there to be another Star Wars movie, and I would like to know who will be directing it and what is it going to be all about. So hopefully we'll know that soon. But like you and I were talking about earlier, this to me is just the usual soundbite. Rian Johnson, okay, I got to talk about Star Wars. He says the same thing.
It is.
Still interested. I'm still with KK. We're talking about it. It's a scheduling thing. I'll get back to you. And I'm like, okay.
You remember when Obi-Wan said, "This is a dangerous time for you," talking to Luke in Return of the Jedi, and I'm sorry, Empire. That's kind of how I feel about the next Star Wars movie. They have to be very careful, because whatever movie hits the theater next, the fandom better overwhelmingly love it, or it's going to be damaging to the brand. Like it could be bad, guys. If they come out with a bad movie, it could really hurt Star Wars.
Well, they're so gun shy, right? They're gun shy to announce and commit, and folks are a bit gun shy to direct, right? However, there have been a couple of folks here within the last few months who have said, I'm your Huckleberry, right? Kasdan has said, I'm ready to come back and do something. Okay, maybe he wants to do Solo 2, maybe we don't want to go there, right? But he's like, I'm still here, and yes, I'm invested. Bryce Dallas Howard has said, all they have to do is ask me. Right. I didn't get the impression that she had an idea, but she's like, if all you have to do is ask me. Right. And Ron Howard's still around too, by the way. What about the Howards? Right. It isn't that people are completely uninterested. Right. But when you look back at some of the recent Taika Waititi, and he's kind of like, well, maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't come across as overwhelmingly, yes.
I'm
doing it.
This, I hate giving like sports analogies, but I think this one's very fitting. It's kind of like with a football team or a basketball team. You got this great college, this great university that historically has always had a powerhouse dominant football team. But in the last decade or two, they've not been playing up to their standards, and they're losing, and they fire coach after coach after coach. And now it's at the point where none of the successful, big liner head coaches will even sniff that job. That's kind of how I look at directors in Star Wars. There's a lot of directors in Hollywood. They're not going to want to even get close to Star Wars because it's a lose-lose situation for them.
Well, it puts a proverbial black mark on their resume, right? This is why I say it's very standoffish right now, and there have been a few folks, again, putting Andor to the side or whatever. I would have to believe that if they went to Tony Gilroy and said, "Are you up for another movie?" I don't know the guy, right? And maybe not right now because they're in the process of making a second season of Andor, and have to believe he would do it again. Right, we need to have, it's always two things to make it successful, right? You need to have an invested director, and you need to have a great story, right? So, and the director doesn't always bring the story with them, right? They're not always, it's not always a pitch thing, right? So for me, it's kind of like, so what's the story going to be, And based upon that story, who's going to commit, right, into doing it? Because we think 2025 is that far away. It's really not when you think about production and what needs to go into a movie and some of the rest of it, right? They need to get on it. So I don't know. I miss it. We've talked about it. I miss it terribly.
Yeah.
Right. Every time they bring Rogue One back to the theater, I'm there. And it's like, because I miss that experience, right? Star Wars on the big screen.
Sure, I do too. It was meant for the big screen. Well, speaking of movies and things like that, we're going to look at the Michelle Rejoin news in just a second. Before we get there, Debbie Young has gifted 5 Echo Base Network memberships. So thank you so much for doing that. And so has Jedi Master Lawrence. She also gifted 5 Echo Base Network memberships. So, ladies, we appreciate that. To all of our new members, welcome to the... And also, Matt, we have a £5 super chat from our friend Venger. Let me find it so I can highlight.
I saw it earlier. I think it's a Josh. I think it's a Josh. Go ahead and read it. We have to read it.
Got to read it for him. £5 super chat. Spoiler: Aemon and his dragon Vagar kills Rhaenyra's son Luke and his dragon in an airborne murder. He's still salty over Luke taking his eye. Okay, all right. I'm not going to say.
I thought it was a Josh. Is it a spoiler?
It is a spoiler. Venger's read the stories. So
okay.
He's read the books. He's not seen it.
I understand from other folks, though, they're not following the stories necessarily faithfully. Somebody said that the dragon bursting up into the last episode where she shows up on the dragon in that place was apparently not in the story. That was something they editorialized.
Okay. All right.
For the series.
Well, I will say, guys, that I watched the leaked finale and I loved it. So awesome. I will definitely be going all the way back through season 1 before season 2 starts. If not once, maybe twice. So the Star Wars guys, what is up, Master Paul? He says, how's it going? Andor 7 was great. Thank you, Paul. I'm glad you were enjoying it, my friend. And we have another member chat here from Ghost Rider. He says, Andor is a good show. It's a different type of Star Wars feel. It's not what most are used to, but that's what I find intriguing. Well, thank you, Ghost Rider. I think that is well said, and I think that's I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Some people are okay with that, and some people are not. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about here in just a few minutes. Speaking of Star Wars movies, Matt, Michelle Rejoin has stepped down as senior vice president at Lucasfilm. She will be fulfilling the executive producer role that she was doing beforehand. And she's still been executive producer on many series since she's taken the SVP role. So what's interesting to me is somebody else going to take her place, or are they just cutting cost and she's not needed? So they're going to let her just go be a producer. That's what we've got to see. Right now, I will say this. I don't think this news really means anything yet. People can speculate. People could say there's a civil war going on. Kathleen Kennedy's next. That sounds like you're hopeful. You might be hopeful, but I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that is going to happen. When Michelle Rejoin got the job, people were unhappy because it was the Force is female thing going on and all this and all that. But whatever, I don't think it really has any meaning at all. What say you, Matt?
It's a tough one for me because I don't know what the job responsibilities were of the job she's vacating, right? So it's hard for me to opine on, is it meaningful? Because I don't know what she did or didn't do while she was there, right? My main thing about it is, coming from the corporate life where I exist on a daily basis, right? Normally when someone gets the boot, they don't stick around and still have the opportunity to influence as any other role, right?
Exactly.
Normally they just ride off into the sunset. So the fact that she still seems to be attached to all the properties that she was attached to previously tells me maybe it was a life choice, right? Maybe they are cutting costs. Maybe, you know what I mean? It's not to me it's not super meaningful because I don't understand what she was supposed to be doing in the she's just a face on their webpage, right? Again, she's
Yeah.
part of the executive team. I'm not trying to diminish her accomplishment, but I don't know what it meant, right? So when she stepped down, I'm kind of like, okay,
Right.
corporate life.
That's about it. So, and we just wanted to hit it real quick, let you guys, have a chance to type in the comments and let us know what you think about it, or come on here in the pop-ins in a moment and speak on this if this has any more meaning for you. But, I haven't really heard anybody talking about this very much. No industry insiders or nothing. What does it mean? Who knows? It's hard to predict what's going on at Lucasfilm. It really, really is. But something that we can predict, Matt, is this: Jedi Survivor is still coming in March, apparently. So it is still on track to be released in March. So we're getting more Star Wars story right there. Whether you like the game or not, the cutscenes are fabulous, and you get some great, great moments in Star Wars. This is kind of a good thing for all of us Star Wars fans. There's a lot of people who are really excited about the sequel to this game.
Yes, and so I swapped the article out because Bespin Bulletin put up a little bit more here about Josh Gad or Glad. So somebody who follows the gaming industry was on a podcast with Respawn, and this game was talked about, right? And so the inference is we might hear more about it in December, and that it still seems to be on track for March. And I'm with you, Coach. Like we talked about, neither you nor I think, have the patience necessarily for the gameplay. I have a lot of love watching other folks. I'd much rather tune into a live stream and watch other people struggle with playing it and get to see the cutscenes and the story and the different things, because these Jedi Fallen Order stories they've told so far have been, for me, supremely interesting. Right, so we need a game.
We do.
Right?
We need a new game.
It seems like we're more likely to get a game before we get another movie. So give us something else.
Well,
right?
Apparently they're saying that we're going to start getting 2 a year.
Yeah.
2 Star Wars games a year. And I'm all for that. Coach will buy it and not play it either.
Listen,
you might be right.
Like I say, just these things keep the franchise fresh for new entrants, right? So for some folks, some younger folks, all ages, right? But who are big gamers, right? And this type of game appeals to them, and they like to do it in the Star Wars universe, right? So bring it out. I mean, the for me, obviously as a huge Lego guy, right? The last game we got, that was delayed and much ballyhooed, right, was the Lego Skywalker Saga, and it kind of fizzled, right? It didn't.
I played the first level, bought it for $55, played the first level. It's good. It's like I bought it to play it with my children, and they'd rather do about anything.
I bought a PlayStation 4 just for Jedi Fallen Order during the pandemic. I bought a Switch just for Lego Star Wars, and I don't regret either one of those things, but it kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
Right. So I do feel like there's an opportunity to build that hype.
So,
right? And I didn't put in the Eclipse. There was an Eclipse. Eclipse is still out there. There was an Eclipse leak. I was going to put it.
Now that's the game I'm looking forward to.
But yeah, so there was a little bit about the story, and I read about it, and I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I don't know. It's kind of weird. We can find it if time allows. We can put it up there. But the Star Wars gaming, we need it, right? We're looking for something else to keep that hype going, and I'm much personally looking forward to seeing what this game is all about.
Yeah. Well, I am at the point, and thank you very much, the Star Wars guys, Mr. Paul, for the $5 super chat. He says, #play more Fallen Order, Coach. The thing is, I'm so strapped for time that if I don't love the game, I don't need to play it. And
that's why I'd rather put my limited time into watching other folks play it and being there in the community, watching them live.
Exactly.
I would rather take that time to interact in the chat and do some other things than because you and I are the same. I feel like we're the same frustrated players on this game. It's like
There's
mother-
something about Star
no,
Wars
no,
games
Bert,
and
I
puzzles
can't-
that I don't do.
I can't get up the wall. I don't know where I'm going. I'm lost again. I'm so frustrated. I'm like, this is supposed to be fun. Right?
Yeah.
That's why I'd much rather watch other
Now-
folks play.
Now there are those open. So for me, Fallen Order's too linear.
Mm,
There's two. You got to go this path, this path.
I like that.
I
I'd
like
to be told what to do.
I like the Legend of Zelda,
Yeah. I'm
where
with you.
where
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, where it's open and I can go do whatever I want
Sure.
and go on all my side quest, main quest, all that.
I get too distracted.
That's my kind of game.
I'm with you.
I am not the Fallen Order game type is just not for me. But you know, it looks great. It's a great story, great cutscenes,
Yes.
great sound. All that's wonderful. I'm just not, you know, it's just not my kind of game to play myself. So, but
I
anyways,
think they could still pay it forward in dividends if they would bring Kestis into live action, into a series somehow, right? I still feel like that connectivity. We saw it a little bit in Kenobi, right, with Nur and the fortress and some of it. That was quite, to me, one of the best things I think they did in Kenobi with Chow and otherwise was that connectivity into the gaming realm, right? Which to me, if I was a gamer, especially into that game, I'd be like, oh wow, right? I know all about this, right? I was there, I've done this,
Yeah.
and other things, etc. So I thought from a fan's perspective, I have to give them 2 thumbs up, not 4 thumbs down. By the way, I'm glad you edited it after that, because that clip goes in a bad place, right? But I gotta give them 2. I gotta give them 2 thumbs up on
Yep.
that connectivity, right? Because I
Sure.
think that gives some payback to folks who have gone through it. So yeah, let's see what happens.
well, the wonderful Leia Rose says here, go back to Diablo. I'm still playing Diablo 2. I'll play that game probably for the rest of my life. It's the kind of game that I could go months without playing, turn it back on, jump right in, continue my character, get out. I played it earlier today, and I even played it yesterday. So I'll probably play it tonight before I go to bed. So Diablo 2 Resurrected, yes, please. Diablo 4, when it comes out, yes, please. Breath of the Wild 2, I'm taking off work for that game. Yes, please. So those are games that I'm very excited about. And if I could ever figure out how to install the TIE Fighter current version, whatever they're calling that, the project, I will do it. And I will play that. I would love to play that. But every time I've tried to install it, something bad happens and I can't do it. So
well, not to pile on, but just from a community perspective, I loved hanging out with y'all, you, Andor, Nick, when you all were just gaming on what's now EBE, right? Just a chill stream there for a
Sure.
couple hours. You're gaming, whether we're in Discord or not or whatever. That's for us to watch, right? That's just kind of like laid back. You know, what else am I going to do right now? You know, let's go and do it. Right.
It's funny you say that.
If you have a notion to put it up again, I think I speak for some folks that are here, right?
Well, thanks, bro. I'll do that. We'll do that. And you know, gosh, what was I about to say?
Well, why interrupted your train?
No. It's okay. No, it was along what you were saying. Oh, when I did, so we had those streams. We had those little gaming chill stream things and everything. And but whenever I played Fallen Order, that's when we had like the crowd would be twice the size. We'd have like 60 people in instead of 30, you know, and I'm like, wow, they really like watching this game. But you know,
it's because of the story, right? It wasn't to see frustrated coach, right? Because that story is somebody put some thought behind that story. Well done. Right? Well
yep.
done.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that's going to do it for all of our little news updates. Now we're getting into the main meat of the show, our main topic of the night, if you will. So when we do have pop-ins, you guys are welcome to pop in and talk about this. What is going on, Thrawn? Good to see you. Have a great birthday dinner, my friend. He would have been here with us tonight on stream, but he
enjoy, brother. Enjoy.
He had previous plans. So So Andor, let me just throw this up. Andor is better than The Mandalorian, but no one is watching, says Paul Tassi over at Forbes. And this is the article that everybody's been talking about for 2 days.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching Andor. It's better than Mando, but nobody's watching it. Now, here's the thing. I can't compare it to Mando. Which one do I like better? Oh, well, that's easy. I like Mando better. Now, if Mando had more of a serious side to it, like Andor, I think I would like Mando even more. So that's one piece of Andor that I do like. I do like the seriousness of it. I really do. But this whole thing about Andor is better than, not as good as, whatever. You know, and this article basically goes right into what we were talking about earlier, Matt. Is Andor suffering because of what came before it? Solo certainly suffered because of The Last Jedi. There's, without question, people lost interest. People were so upset. Nick didn't even go watch Solo in the theater. That's the first Star Wars movie he has never gone and seen in the theater.
What a fake fan. Can we just say what a fake fan? Right?
Yeah.
Not going to see Solo in the theater. Fake fan.
So I want to know, what does the chat think about this? I want to know what our pop-in members are going to say about this. And I want to know, Risman, what's your take on this Forbes article?
I think a related question, Coach, and again, I've been, you know, I like Robert Meyer Burnett a lot, a friend of the channel. The shout out to the Post Geek Singularity
Love him.
folks here, and they're into it, right? He does a Midnight Musing with and Lael and R&B is like, you know, this is some of the best television ever. Right, but the thing about it is, and where I was going here, no, X-wing is not allowed.
Sorry, X-wing.
Well, where I wanted to go is a related question: is Andor fun to watch? Because Mandalorian's fun to watch, right? Is Andor fun to watch? Maybe I'm answering the question.
I don't know if I like the word fun.
But for me, the enjoyment for Mando is because I have a lot of fun watching Mando.
Okay, so I wouldn't classify it as fun. I think what we're saying is the same thing. The test for me is, am I willing to get up at 1:45 a.m. and turn on the camera to watch this? Do I want to watch it that badly? Is my interest level that high? When the Book of Boba Fett first came out, no problem. I'm getting up at 1:30, calling Nick, and we're doing this. Mandalorian, no problem. I'm not doing that right now. I did it for Andor, the opening night or whatever. Maybe the second one. I'm not doing it anymore. I basically watch it when I get to it. Nick has gone days without watching a new release. It just doesn't have it doesn't produce the excitement for me. So I'm going to say excitement where you're saying fun. Does that make sense?
It does, but for me personally, there hasn't been one of these Disney Plus shows yet that I've gotten up on drop to watch. Not one, including Andor.
Yeah.
Now, because I've gone back in the office for a few days, right? I do get up at 4:15 Eastern to watch Andor before I get ready for the day, right? I do commit that time, right? But the thing about it for me, and again, that's why I say it was a very leading question. Andor is a very heavy series to consume, right? That's why, again, when I was talking about my mother's reaction earlier, right? It's very dreary, right? But that's the story, that the way that the evokement, is evokement a word? I made that up, right? Evoking that feeling, right? I think is exactly what Tony Gilroy was going for,
Sure.
right? This isn't a happy time, right? The time frame for Mando is a bit happier. Why? Because they got rid of all this nonsense, right? And it's what happened after the fall of all this, right? But we're at a very dark. That's why it's called the dark times, right? You see some of these figures that were leaked, right?
Yeah.
They called one of the we saw those clones that were marching, and there was the one Imperial officer there. He's called the Dark Times Imperial officer, right?
Right.
Because that's where we're at. This isn't a happy time in the Star Wars galaxy.
It's not. Yeah.
And so this, as a result, this isn't an to use your word, it's not an exciting series. And I
Yeah.
think that hasn't resonated with a lot of folks that just came off Kenobi, because whether you like Kenobi or not, right? It was a happier series to me than what we've gotten in Andor. Andor is very, very heavy and very complex.
Right. It is. It's a totally different. It's a totally different genre within Star Wars. We've never seen anything like it, and it's exactly what Tony Gilroy wanted to do. You know, it's nothing. None of this has been done by accident. You know, and I want to look at this final paragraph here. This is how Paul Tassi closes in the article. He says, "I do fear." Let me make it a little bigger for everybody to be able to see that a little better. Okay. So he says, "I do fear that Andor performing poorly will cause Disney to think they need to go back to flashier projects jam full of cameos and Skywalker relatives, when really they should be giving showrunner Tony Gilroy a blank check to do absolutely whatever he wants within the universe if this is what he's going with, a random collection of characters in Andor. I actually would love to see his take on the politicking of the Jedi, as I think that's painfully unexplored in the movies and series so far, but we'll see." Now, I'll say this. For everything that I have said in live streams about Andor, I do not dislike the show, but I don't love it. I like it just fine. I'm going to watch it. I am interested in seeing it. It just doesn't have the type of excitement and pull that I want it to have. Does that make sense?
Related question. Do you like it better than Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett?
I think it's clearly better than both of those shows.
So for me, that's a success, right? And also, it's committed to a second season, right? He's doing the next season. They're not going to cancel it. Right?
Sure.
So we are getting another season of the show, and the writing is superb, right? But a show like this, which is so into the writing, needs to have superb writing. The Mandalorian, on the other hand, needs to have more pulp, right? More popcorn enjoyment, more beauty in the experience, because that's what the show is built on, right? That's the sweet spot of that show. And the biggest thing for me that always impresses me when I have conversations. By the way, I was out and about today. Several folks where I was at are Star Wars fans, and I said, "How are you finding Andor?" Right? They love it, right? But it requires engagement and thought, right? And it I don't think all of a sudden leftover Jedi are going to show up, right? I don't think we're going to get a lightsaber fight, right? I don't think all of a sudden it's going to be like, haha, you made it this long, here we go, right? I don't think that's going to happen in this series.
So I do think it's funny. Like, I remember when the Book of Boba Fett came out, and like the episode where we got to see Black Chrysanthemum, and a lot of Star Wars fans didn't know who Black Chrysanthemum was. Okay,
Fake fans. Fake fans, fake fans.
I'm one of them. I'm the
I didn't
lead.
know. I'm with you.
I'm the head of the fake fans right here. I did not know.
Right.
I thought he looked awesome, but I had never read the Vader comics. I have now.
Well, comics aren't canon. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm one of those people, and then I'm hearing all of these YouTube content creators saying things along these lines. And some of these people that said this are my friends. Some of these people that said this are probably in this chat right now. And you said these things. Here's what they said, Matt. Here's what they said. Well, this show is really for people who have lore expertise. These are for the people who they're really in the comics and the books and the canon and the EU and all of that. That's who this show is for. So, you just don't appreciate it because it's not really made, because you're not a lore expert. So, and go ahead.
And then the big bad ended up being the Pikes. And I'm not off it, right? Sometimes it's just the Pikes. Jon Favreau, please, this is why when in the other place, I played the Vespa, my favorite Nick clips. The Vespa bikes. We had all these things, and the Pee Wee Herman bikes and all that. I'm like, on your point, it's like you don't have to be a lore master to enjoy a story, right?
Now, but that, and definitely 2 episodes later, after this, and they give us Pee Wee Herman bikes. So after that, nobody was saying that lore crap anymore. Nobody. I never heard that again. That was the end of it. But to be fair, the people who were saying that this show is more intellectually based, it's true.
It's complex.
You have to be in it. You can't sleep on this show. You have to be in it, looking, and you have to have some degree of analysis as you're watching this.
Not only that, right? But you have to be in that conference room, right? The major was just berating that poor guy, Supervisor Young. God bless him, right? He got berated again. But guess what? Before it's over, he gets even, right? It's that complex, right? There are things going on here that are well written. There's no throwaway lines, but you have to be paying attention. And I'm not saying the fan base is incapable of that.
Yeah.
We've just come off 2 series where you really didn't have to pay attention. We tried to pay attention in Boba Fett. The whole flashback scenes to Kamino and all that, it ended up meaning nothing. Right, we thought Kira was showing up, and some of the rest of it. No, sometimes it's just the Pikes.
The whole look, going back to Mando, flashback scenes to when he was a boy. Those scenes are basically meaningless.
Yeah,
like they've done nothing with Mando's childhood, nothing.
Yeah,
and they probably never will.
So now we're at the writing, and the things that are going on in the show are so different than what we've experienced before that it's almost off-putting. It's weird for me to say that because I do the show.
So I like the show, and I think it's possible that when it's over, I could go back and really enjoy it. But as I am sitting here 1 week after another watching it, and the last episode was good, and the one before that was good. But it just doesn't have the pull. And I don't know if I can articulate it. I don't know if I can give everybody all of my coach's top 10 reasons for why this show's not, I'm not in love with it.
But it's still, but your music to my ears was what I expected to hear, which is it's still superlative to what we got in Kenobi and what we
Clearly,
got in
yeah.
Book of Boba Fett.
With this show, Star Wars is in a good place. I will say that. There's going to be people here that disagree with that.
We've seen the HoloNet. I could go through a list of things that we've seen now in live action that we've never seen before in this show.
Yeah.
Right. And does it matter? Maybe, maybe not. Right. But it shows that there was a real care here for a showrunner who was ostensibly not a Star Wars fan, not somebody who was into the lore. Right. But yet he made it a point to tell the actor who played Skeen that he was using Greedo's blaster, not a blaster that was the same type as
Right.
Greedo's.
Right.
But Greedo's actual blaster. And now that he died on that planet or whatever, it's left open to interpretation about how Greedo might get that blaster. Right. I'm like, that is very intricate and it shows a significant sense of care. And that's why I'm like, sign this guy up for whatever contract. There was an aborted, somebody misreported something about the fact that Gilroy had been given a long-term contract that included more shows and more movies, and then they retracted it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which to me makes me believe that there is some truth to that, but something about it was misreported.
Yep.
Right. Sign this guy up.
Well,
right,
I want to.
For me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keep him involved doing something because he cares about the product.
So if we had like this ping pong back and forth between the Filoni Favreau team and Gilroy, I would be happy. I would like that. I think it's appropriate to have different types of Star Wars shows at this point. You know, we need a show that's dedicated to the Jedi. If Star Wars can get healthy, maybe we'll get there one day. That would be awesome to me.
Well, on your point earlier, right, we're about to go into so much next year, so much content that has opportunity, right? In January, Bad Batch Season 2, right? I know Nick is excited to see Omega growing up. Wonderful, wonderful, right? But then we have, of course, Ahsoka. We have Skeleton Crew. I think Acolyte is the next. I skipped Mando 3, right? We have Mando 3. Yep. We have Ahsoka. We have Skeleton Crew, maybe in that order or thereabouts, right? And we have Bad Batch Season 2. So I think we have that opportunity to go back to the more what I heard.
And then we're gonna have the next Star Wars cinematic movie, which will be the Mandalorian story.
Well, and if that's what they do in 2025, peace and love, right? But in 2024, we're getting the second season of this show.
If they want Star Wars to be headed in the right direction, they'll put the Mando culminating war with Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Mando all together in the theater, give us a 3-hour movie and end this story. And if they do that in 2025, I think that will be a great Star Wars movie.
It would be, but I don't think that's the movie. If the 2025 movie is the Taika movie, I don't think that's
it's definitely not happening. Yeah,
not
right.
Happening. But I highlighted this chat from X-Wing, who absolutely can't pop in later, right? By the way, because I wanted to say the acting in Andor, it's amazing. And by the way, if I wasn't in love with Genevieve O'Reilly already, I'm definitely in love with her now, right? Mon Mothma, right? They are killing it from an acting perspective. But his end point is where we're at in this conversation, right? Which is those of us that are watching it and can recognize and understand that we love the acting and some of the rest of it are really good with that. Not enough people are watching, right? Whether you believe the parrot guy who whoopsied or not, right? And I know Valiant has put out, some stuff about this as well, right? It's doing better than the Book of Boba Fett, right? But it isn't doing as well as we would expect a tentpole property should do for Disney, right? And that for me is kind of like, it's a little disappointing, to say the least.
So our friend Salty Buttered Bags, I can't find the comment. Salty, good to see you. He said something a few minutes ago. The test for him is the show is good if he has to pause it to get up to go pee. But if he can get up and go pee and just keep it running, the show's not any good. And for him, he's saying, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Andor, he could just get up and go pee and come back. That's just how he is.
He's gonna miss a lot, but so I get it, right? You're gonna miss some of the underlying story property, but if as a fandom we believe that that's true, right? That we can get up, go away, and I saw this online earlier. They're like, well, episode 7, Cyril needed a job. He started an interview, got the job. The episode ended. He was in his cube. Thank you, Disney Star Wars.
Right.
And I get that feedback, right? But it's very meaningful, right? The job that he got, what he's doing, why he's there, what it might enable him to do, how that all goes from here. It's very relevant to the story, right? But on the feedback of the whole, I can go to the bathroom and come back and not feel like I've missed anything, says that the story is not resonating.
Yeah.
For everybody that's consuming it.
Well, and like for whatever reason, I hate getting on Twitter now and seeing what everybody. It's just crazy, because people, no matter what you say, you're going to get attacked. I mean, just viciously attacked for whatever. You don't like Andor just because it's different. You don't like Andor, people just assume all these things.
The pepper trees.
And here's the thing. I want to love the show, everybody. But right now, the show's just okay for me. Now, I want to break in here real quick and thank tonight's sponsor, 69mega.com.
I know.
Thank you. And appreciate it.
And you know who the girl is? Mon Mothma. Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
Boy. Oh.
Yeah, please and thank you.
You're a bad boy. Mattuine with a $10 super chat. He says, ironic that I find myself on the other side of the Disney Star Wars fan fence this time, enjoying a show that many say is not Star Wars or it's not enjoyable, exciting, a la the sequel trilogy fans. No offense, Leia Rose. So, and that's good. I'm glad that people like Mattuine are enjoying it. I totally get it. I totally get what you're saying there. Nick is saying it's not Star Wars to him. I'm not saying that. It definitely is Star Wars. It's just a different feel. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that is where it's going wrong for me. And I'm not one of those two that's like, I just need more action. I just need the action.
Fast and loose.
I'm not saying that either.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I don't think anyways. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll figure it out. But Mattuine, thank you so much for that $10 super chat. And Gary James Fukuhara sends in a $9.99 super chat. He says, Andor storyline is all right to fall back into since we better than the Ring of Power. Keep being awesome and the Force be with you always. Well, thank you, Gary James. I am totally with you. And yeah, we definitely want to stay away from the Ring of Power. And I'm good with Andor. So I watched the first 2 episodes of Ring of Power and I totally lost interest and will not go back. So that's where I am on that. And let's see. Eric Gant, and thank you again, Gary James. Eric Gant with a $9.99 super chat, Matt. He says, Andor is so well crafted and captivating. It actually has me more invested in Mon Mothma's family drama than I was in Boba Fett's post-Starlock adventures or Obi-Wan's rematch with Vader. I'm serious. Now, here's the thing. I agree with you. As far as that point goes right there, if you're going to hold Andor up, if you're going to hold Andor up against Boba Fett, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Vader, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Vader, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if you're going to hold Andor up against Obi-Wan, if to Boba Fett and Kenobi, I'm with you 100%. I think the problem for me is that I just want to like it more.
Mm,
I want to like it more than I do.
mm.
I want to love it. I want it to be 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And for me, it's just not there. I'm going to give it like a 6.5, 7.
But on Eric's point, right? What I think they've done really well in Andor is they've done a great job of respecting the different characters' arcs. When Deidre at the ISP is on screen and we're learning about things that are going on there in the conference room or what otherwise, I don't find myself thinking, well, this is an Andor show. Where's Andor at? Right? Or when they bring Luthen up, or when Clea went to meet Vel, I didn't find myself thinking, well, this is a cop out because they haven't been able to write an Andor story, right? I find myself thinking they've done a pretty good job of making me really interested in the basic ensemble cast.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And for me, that is a capitalized, well done on television. Right. And when we think about Andor and Book of Boba Fett, right? Especially Book of Boba Fett, where we're like, well, thank God the Mando showed up. Don't get me started again on what they did with Grogu and Luke and R2 flying about.
See, that's the thing. I would even prefer for Grogu to be gone in Mando.
For me, I'm so over Grogu right now. That's a whole different stream for a whole different time. But I'm with you, and for me, Andor is a series that doesn't need Grogu to save it, right? It's not what we're going for here, but for the ensemble cast, whether it's Cyril in his cubicle, right? Again, these basic 3, 4, 5 main characters. I'm like, yes, for someone who's watched 10, 11 seasons of The Blacklist and some of these other things that I love, right? I'm like, Tony Gilroy knows how to do television, right? He knows how to write a character-driven story. The problem is it's just so different than what they've been pumping out in the 6-episode format for Disney Plus Star Wars that people have found it very, again, I use the word off-putting, because I think that's what I see. That's what I observe, right? From some folks who are like, it's like you saying, I wanted to love it, but for me, it's still, I just like it. And it's a tough one, right? Because I think, not that the awards mean anything, but there should be Emmys given out for the folks in this series, right? Whether it's the music or some of the rest of the stuff, right? These they're killing it. Right, but it's so diminished by what came before. It's tough. It's
True.
really tough.
True. I agree. Good points there, Matt. And thank you, Eric, for sending that in. Very good, thought out super chat there. And Matt Guillemette with 5 Canadian. He says, I probably would love Andor, but I just don't care for Disney Star Wars anymore. Matt, I totally understand, man. I totally understand. I'm going to tell you guys what, though. Like, I splurged. Risman knows this. I splurged this week. I finally, after 8 years, bought a new television. And I got a new sound system to go with it. It's not here yet, but it's on the way. I'm finally going to have a 4K television.
Nice.
And apps that actually, like, work on the TV. Like, because the one I have, the apps don't even work anymore. The first thing I'm going to do is watch the original trilogy. This is the first thing I'm going to do. Because that's my go-to. When I get a new TV or a new piece of technology or a new computer or whatever, the first thing I do, I go watch Star Wars. And then I watch Empire. And then I watch Jedi.
Sadly, it'll have to be the special editions.
No, it won't. It'll be despecialized.
Oh, you have it. You can hook. You've got it all
I have them on
planned out.
Blu-ray. I have them on Blu-ray.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes, I do. So that is what I'll be watching, and it will be a day long remembered. So, Matt, thank you so much for that, and always hold tightly the Star Wars that you love, because that's what we're all.
More Matts here. More Matts, the better.
Yep. And then Kara sends in a member chat. She says, "But even Nick knows that it's a good written show. Look at that good English that she's using. She's
Yeah.
absolutely right. Good job, Kara. Nick does know that. So thank you for that. And then,
I have to say, Coach, as much as I bust Nick's no-nos, he's liked Andor more than I expected. And
really? Okay.
yes, yeah,
I'm not used to Nick liking anything.
Well, again, it's all relative, right? But
Yeah.
for me, as I've watched him react about it or whatever, I'm like, he's getting it, right? And
Yeah.
if we can touch his cold heart, right, there is still hope.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
still hope, right?
Green Lantern 345 sends in a member chat. He says, I like the first 3 episodes of Andor, but yes, they felt slow. Still better than Boba and Kenobi, and that's really sad for me. Hashtag Echo Base for life. Thank you, Green Lantern. We appreciate that, bro. And Debbie Young.
I know.
Oh, crap. No Grogu, please refund my super chats. Oh.
So again, I know she loves the Grogu. My problem with Grogu is has become the Star Wars crutch, right? Grogu that cute that you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying by that? It's become that.
He absolutely has.
It's become that attraction,
Yeah.
bringing folks in. And I'm not saying that they haven't wove him into the story appropriately, but I'm still a bit miffed, more than a bit, around the whole. We spent 2 seasons in The Mandalorian, including the beautiful culmination in the 2nd season finale, getting Grogu back to a Jedi, only to have him sent back unceremoniously.
He's your kind, Mando said.
Unceremoniously in a spin-off show.
Grogu's a freaking quitter.
And I understand there's reasons why Luke couldn't bring him back, because if Luke brought him back, then he'd be like, what's going on here? It's done, right? So we had to, don't get me back into the ending of Book of Boba Fett, right? But all I'm saying is we invested 2 seasons, right, in getting him to a Jedi, only to have him sent back in a 45-minute episode.
Side story. Not even Mando.
In a spin-off side story, which they're going to have to somehow remessage.
10 years from now, when people don't realize the Book of Boba Fett season 1 happened after Mando season 2, if you miss the order of it, you're gonna pop in Mando season 3, and you're gonna be like, wait a minute, Grogu's already back? It's totally going to confuse people in the future. I would be better with Grogu if he was absent right now doing something that we're wondering about. I'm with you on that.
It feels very unfulfilling. So again, I'm not as mad as I am over the whole She-Hulk incident. Right? Let's not go back into that.
Right? Want to say hello to everybody over at That Junkman's channel.
Oh, Junkman!
He is live and he's streaming our show right now, and he's over there going, "Look, Coach is a bait and switch. Coach hates it. He's Phantom Menace. He's Phantom Menace. This Rissman guy's all right, but Coach, no, I'm throwing darts at Coach." Well, that's what he's over there saying. But we love him.
So to end my Grogu rant, right? Mm-hmm. I hope in Mando 3, right, that they do something with Grogu that makes it feel all worth it. Otherwise, I have to tell you honestly, I'm over Mando. For me personally, I'm over it. Right? Only because I feel like it became a merchandise play. And that's a sad thing for me to say, right? Because Star Wars in its inception, you could argue, was a merchandise play. Sure. But at least the story resonated, right? Right? This whole Grogu business, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about Grogu.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, are you ready to open this thing up to some pop-ins?
Yes, but not X-Wing. X-Wing cannot pop in.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to throw the link out on the community page for all of our Grandmasters and Jedi Masters. So if you are one of those and you want to pop in, I am throwing the link out right now.
And Coach, I'm gonna get a refill and I'll be right
back. Go right ahead. Yes, sir. Pop yourself out. All right. So the link has been posted to Grandmasters and Jedi Masters. We will be right back with some pop-ins. All right, Matt. We are bringing in. I guess I could stop the banner now. You want to kind of CEO this?
Sure. I can do that.
You got it.
Hold on, let me respond to
I'll tell you what. So everybody got to go refill their drinks and crap. I didn't get to because I was sitting here running all that stuff.
Go.
I'm going to go just refill water and I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right, let's welcome Brandon. Good to see you, Bobby. Oh, Red Tigress, welcome. Debbie's here. And General Graber. Wow, look at how professional.
Love that.
Still very
Like
short.
that, Debbie.
I tell you. Oh, no, Grogu. Why is she bringing the
Liking that X-Wing display.
Why?
It was all set up for X-Wing Boomer Counts or whatever he calls it on Sunday night, but he canceled. I'm bitter about that or anything.
No, I know.
Very bitter.
We're
Not
gonna do
bitter
it.
at all. No.
I'll get on him. We'll have a boomer count. We'll have a
Hanger Bay.
Hanger Bay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Good to see you all. Good to see
I like the X-wings all there. The different iterations of that magnificent single piloted starship.
Oh,
More.
who let him in here?
Sorry.
I said, no X-wing.
This is for Hanger Bay, but no, you did not show up. I'm just saying. You did not show up.
As soon as you get that weird looking T-70B out of there, we'll be on better terms.
one's that?
It's all
This
about
one?
that T-65, baby.
All right.
All
You
right.
see, I don't mind
Okay, there we go.
the new model. It looks fine to me. It's still an X-wing, but that's just me. And what do I know?
Hey, Matt, I just want to
There
tell
you
you,
go.
I have to leave in 27 minutes to go pick my daughter up. So
Okay.
you're going to take us home.
I know what I got my first rodeo now.
Yes,
I
sir.
Can do this.
All right. Well, let's start with the lady and and I missed the super
Please
chat.
don't gender me.
She said you were dead to me. For the $1.99 super chat. All right, Mama Bear, Andor, give it to us. Set it straight.
Well, so I love Andor. I find it very, very opposite of Mandalorian in the way I love it. Just like Matt says, it's different. You don't like it?
No, I'm thumbsing down X-wing's mustache. Keep going. Keep going, Debbie.
I like the spy business. It's very intriguing. I like to see how much backstabbing there is in the hierarchy of the
ISB?
Well, yes, and also that the people who are planning the rebellion can't trust themselves either.
Mhm.
So both sides trust no one.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I think there's going to be people in there who we are going to be surprised are probably not on the sides we think they are on. I think that's going to be good. I think the music, I like the music in Andor. I like the shots are just marvelous. Number 6 was amazing. That could have been a movie with the visuals and everything. I think that was excellent.
Debbie, I don't know if it's just me, but you've gotten a little. I don't know if you knocked something. A little.
Is that better?
Yes. You got it, man.
Sorry. So I'm happy with it, and I understand. I think I understand. Coach, I wanted to ask you: did you like the movie Rogue One?
Yeah.
Okay, but you feel the series is different than the movie?
No.
Okay, but you like the movie. Okay, well.
Yeah, and I like the series. I just don't feel like I love it.
Well, that's fine.
And I want to love it.
That's all right. But I didn't expect Nick to like it, so he's lived up to my expectations. But I love Nick still.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you don't ever have to second guess Nick. He tells you the
Nope.
first time, you know.
Nope. Let's see. I just think it's a good story, and they're doing exactly what they needed to do to build up to where Rogue One eventually leads, and seeing the parts that everybody played that. And I think we've been introduced to K2SO just as he was before he was then, reprogrammed to become the
That'll
K2SO.
make the show even better. I can't wait for that to happen.
Yes, and I think we've seen that. So I mean,
do you think, Debbie, that so we saw KX units? I brought my he's off camera, but I brought him out for we saw KX units, right? But do you think there's a relationship between Nemec's manifesto or Luthen's ship in regards to the K2SO that we end up seeing later? What do you think about that whole part of it?
Truly, I'm going to spend some time tomorrow rewatching some of those first episodes and paying a lot more attention to that. To really, I think that is going to be very important. A lot more than, right now. I'm going to...
X-Wing showing off again.
Nice.
Cool. But I will say they have canonized how Cassian and K2 end up together. It's in a comic. As we know, comics are not really canon. But up till this moment, right, it has been canonized in the story about how it all happens. It's a very interesting story. It was a one-off. It was a one-off Marvel Star Wars story. But I'm curious to see, as Tony Gilroy has said, next season, we're going to see K2 and how it all happens, and folks are going to be surprised. He said that folks will be surprised around, how that personality ends up in KX unit. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready for that.
I agree with this. I think they filmed a lot of this first season of Andor before they filmed Kenobi, and I really think they probably should have switched their programming, either put this before both of those shows or put it in between those shows. I think they would have done themselves a lot better with the viewing. Because it's a shame this is on them for losing the audience. I mean, by far, this is another one of Disney's inexplicable not thinking.
Debbie Young, the grifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Debbie, you've got a great profession in
I'm
YouTube.
gonna get you and Darth Melvin.
Have your people call our people.
I missed what he said. Hey, I'm not afraid to call them when I see it the right way. They really made a misstep with their programming here. It was terrible.
There was some scuttlebutt initially. I don't know anything about the scuttlebutt, whether it's true, that said that the shows were sequenced in this way for a particular reason. Does that mean I think we're going to see Ewan showing up as Kenobi in Andor? I think the chances are now very, very slim.
I hope not.
Very slim. But I'm just saying there was that whole thought process around, well, they released it this way. I personally think the reason why they released them in this order now is because the writing is so different. They're like, well, we don't want Kenobi. I mean, we can't put Andor before Kenobi because it's going to look so bad. So that's my opinion.
I also think they made a mistake by pushing Mandalorian so far back.
Horrible mistake. That's their biggest mistake of all. That's their biggest mistake of all. We need Mando 3 ASAP.
Yes,
I agree.
It's not going to happen in February.
Once again.
I think it's going to be they're going to do it in Celebration.
Needs to come on. It needs to get here. We need it badly.
And off topic just for a minute, and then I'll sit back quietly and watch everybody else. I think Black Adam was marvelous, just fantastic.
It's such a bad movie, but I had such a great time watching.
No, it's
it.
not
It was
a bad
so
movie.
much
The
fun.
critics were awful. The critics did not hit it. They were so far off.
Oh, come on, Debbie. That kid was cringe, right? But the writing was not good. But the movie I highly recommend it.
Yes.
Please go and see Black Adam on the big screen. You will not be disappointed.
No,
it's
you
not
won't.
a good movie, but it's fun to watch. really, X-Wing's laughing at me, but this is so weird. It doesn't have to be a good movie to still be fun.
I
Right, but it was a good
love
movie
some
and
bad
it was
movies.
fun.
It's
Yeah.
a popcorn movie. Go and watch Black Adam.
I like Masters of the Universe, 1987.
Right?
No, it really was, and it's a movie that you can take your kids to. You don't have to be afraid of anything. There's nothing in it like what we've seen in a lot of these MCU movies or what we're seeing in Disney movies. It is, to me, it's one of the most enjoyable movies I've seen in a long time.
Much for me, much better than Multiverse of Madness. Much better. Thor: Love and Thunder. Don't get me started. Right? Black Adam.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Those are all really good takes.
Yeah, he put money into that movie. He's not gonna back.
No.
That's gonna fail.
Let's go ahead and move over to the next lady in the house, Red Tigress. Red?
Oh, here she comes. She's going to tell us how much she loves Andor. Let's go, Red Tigress.
No, actually, I'm not, but I think I'm going to surprise you with what I do have to say about it.
All right, so you got it. When you talk, there's a really bad static coming through.
Okay. Hold on one second.
Sure.
Probably on the. Are you on a wired headset? You might have the wire might be near a magnetic something. Do we want to go on to Bobby and come back, Coach? Or
Is that any better?
yeah,
Yes.
you fixed
You're
it.
ready.
Perfect.
You're ready.
It's the headset. It's the headset that's causing the problem. Actually, Matt, I think you're going to be somewhat surprised by what I have to say. Because I look at this in two things. Let's start with episode 7. After 2 rather horrific days, I finally got around to watching episode 7. I'm not going to bring people down why they were horrific, but it's been a rough week. I actually thought that episode 7 was actually bordering on good for me. I don't need a lot of action, but what I do need is information. And episode 7 gave me that information. And it was a good follow-on for me to episode 6. So I'd say I'm probably about 4.5 out of 10 to 5 out of 10 on the series so far. I mean, they may get me before this series is over. They don't have me yet. And I think there's another reason why people aren't watching this show. A lot of it, and I think X-Wing, you hit on it in one of your cantinas, is a lot of the verbiage that came out from the different actors and from Tony Gilroy himself prior to the release of the show. I think, again, I wish they had named this something else other than Andor, because it's such an interleaved set of stories. I think that set some wrong expectations going in. And probably my biggest issue with the first 4.5 episodes is I've learned more in other series in 45 minutes, in the first 45 minutes than I learned in that 4.5 hours. For me, okay? They didn't give us and I'll use Matt. Matt threw out that he thought this was like the pacing of the Battlestar Galactica reboot. I went back and I looked at the first 8 minutes of Battlestar Galactica after we had that conversation. You learn more about the universe and a handful of the key characters, and then they slowly built on it. I absolutely agree with you there. But you at least had a get on board situation in that first 8 minutes. And if you haven't gotten into the EU, X-Wing and I had that conversation in the chat that I've never read it. Up to now, I've never read any of the EU. If you don't have that framework to get on board with where you are in the universe, and you get 4 episodes where even if they're extremely well written, it's hard to sink in. And I think that's another problem that this show has had.
The hook is missing, right? That whole first hook.
Yeah, that initial tell me where I am. Tell me where I am in this universe, okay? I know I'm supposed to be in the Star Wars universe, but where in the Star Wars universe? And I think that's why, and then I mean, I get what you're saying, and I mean, visually, sound wise, I think they do deserve some Emmys. I think they figured out that the volume is a great toy when it's used correctly, but it's been overused. But acting wise, yes, there's been some good acting, but when you compare it to Patty Constantine's last episode in House of the Dragon, now that's something that deserved an Emmy. Okay. As of yet in Andor, I don't see any acting that is Emmy worthy when you're comparing it to what else is out there. And I know you're in love with Mon Mothma.
I am. I
think the
am.
acting is superb. I really do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it, but
I also have to say Stellan Skarsgård also doing a great job, right? Even the actress who's playing Deidre, right, for what it is.
I'm not saying that they're not doing a great job, and I'm not saying it's well written. I think there are some Emmys that should be there for acting compared to what they're up against this season. No.
Yeah, so let me be clear, right? Do I feel like if it's competing with House of the Dragon and some of the things we've seen there, that what they're doing in Andor deserves more recognition than House of the Dragon? No. Right? But all I'm saying is for a Star Wars Disney Plus property, this has knocked it out of the park from a production value, from a writing value, from an acting value, right? So that's why I'm like that's where I come from. But yeah, I mean, I can't dispute you on HBO and Game of Thrones. You know, we are not worthy, right? I mean, they have perfected that formula and they're proving it again with House of the Dragon. I'm just saying that for me, on a Star Wars Disney Plus property, this is the best thing that they have put out yet.
X-Wing, should I knock Matt under the table with what I'm about to say? Matt, I 100% agree with what you just said. Compared
I knew we were friends.
What is happening?
I knew we were friends.
Compared to what we have had before. Now, I disagree with you on Grogu. I still love me my Grogu.
Of course, you're a lady.
I'm not going to do it. My other gesture, just to be nice.
We haven't had the no thing yet.
You know what?
No,
I'm going to do it anyways.
No. But yeah, I mean, from a production standpoint, like I said, I think they had the volume, and the volume was a good tool in certain circumstances. But like any new toy that Hollywood seems to develop, everybody wants to use it for everything. And
Tony Gilroy is like, nah, fam. I don't want that.
It's like if you really want to see the volume used really, really well to aid in a story, check out Westworld season 4. They used the volume, and for the story that they were telling and what was happening in it, it worked perfectly.
I'll be right back.
But like I said, it's a matter of the story. And I am still hoping that Star Wars is not dead. I think
it's not dead yet.
If we don't fight each other, like I've heard some really negative things said for the people who aren't, jumping up and down and kneeling at the altar of Tony Gilroy. That it's like, oh, let's not go there, guys.
What about all this police brutality? Andor's about police brutality. It's showing us what the world's like today. It's great.
Come on.
And I'm like, shut up.
I saw that. There was a bunch of articles that was like, oh, he went. That's Tel Aviv. That's where he went. He's in
oh
Tel
my
Aviv.
gosh.
That comes down to what the conversation we were having a while back about actors, directors. People should not be putting their personal politics when they are
just that.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's a big difference in being inspired by in something being based on.
Exactly.
George Lucas was inspired by Vietnam and the Knights of the Templar and and many other things. It wasn't based on Vietnam. It's an inspiration. There's nothing in fantasy that wasn't inspired by something.
Right.
And
Hey,
the minute you say
X-Wing
that,
or X-Wing, you're not co-hosting. Rispin, I have to leave.
Okay, we're here.
Take us home. Guys, I am so sorry that I've got to leave, but my wife just asked me when I went to go refill my drink if I could go get our daughter at 9:00. She's about 10 minutes away, and I want to get there early enough. So I love you guys. Thank y'all for being here.
Good daddy.
Take it easy, Coach.
Stay as long as Rispin allows.
We're here. And
If y'all are still going when I get back, I'll jump back in. So
I haven't scheduled my late night yet, so I'm
We're
open.
good.
See you, Coach.
Yeah.
love you guys.
Love you too.
Well,
Thank you.
and the thing is that a lot of that has to do with the studios needing to rein in their talent once again. I mean, if you want to have your private Twitter account and talk about all of your political opinions, go for it. I support free speech completely. But if you're doing a show, don't bring in modern day politics in a country that is so divided right now.
But I agree with you. That I think turned a lot of people off, and I really haven't seen that. Maybe I'm just not.
Not only have I not seen it, but as someone who travels internationally and might have gotten into a problem or two in Mexico before, I empathize with what happened to Andor. Right? I'm like, wrong place, wrong time. I'm a tourist. Right?
I don't know how you equate Donkey Show to what happened in Andor.
Oh, come on. The only
Damn, X-Wing. Just, flame throwing everybody there with the donkey stuff.
Coach
Man.
left.
Yeah.
I can misbehave.
But I really
Welcome to Echo Base Network After Dark, where
only
everything
difference-
goes, including the donkey show.
difference is he couldn't bribe the shore trooper, right? When it happens in real life, you bribe the cop.
There's an echo coming on there.
I think it might be. Is it better?
Bribe the cop. That
Yeah.
sounds really good. Let's bribe the cops. Let's see how that goes.
I'm just saying. Oh, Valiant's back there. I think we can bring him in. There goes the neighborhood.
Oh, hey. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
I had to wait for
Follows
Coach
me
to leave.
everywhere, man.
Of course you did.
All right, Red Tigress, thanks for that. Really appreciate it. I'm glad you're into it. You're more into it now. That's good. Let's keep going. Let's talk to Bobby F65. What's up, brother? What are you thinking? What do you have to say?
Well, it was a good episode. You're starting to see, more of the intrigue, and we're starting to see the Empire really, spread its reach, get its fingers like into every aspect of the galaxy now. And they're really going to be, like, I guess you'd say, putting down the hammer. And like Coach said, I'd like to get more into the show. It's like, yeah, I'm liking it, but it's not like wowing me. It's not blowing me away. Like Wednesday night, I got home from work and I was like, oh, that's right, new Andor tonight. So I watched it. Okay, great. The acting is fantastic.
Yes.
Writing is fantastic. It's just, I can see how it's turning some people off. I think people, like, when Book of Boba Fett was announced, people were expecting, it's going to be just like the episode that Robert Rodriguez directed. It's going to be off the wall. And then it wasn't like that. You had a lot of flashbacks and, intergalactic Vespas that couldn't go 5 miles an hour.
And a bacta tank that couldn't
Don't
kill
forget
anybody.
the flashback come on.
Exactly.
Flashback baby.
Yeah.
So this is an unfair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, right? Which showrunner do you think, Bobby, has done a better job representing their property? No filler, all killer, Robert Rodriguez, or Tony Gilroy? This is a slow burn spy thriller.
I think I'd have to give it to Tony Gilroy.
Okay,
For
Yeah.
fair enough. That's why I said it was an unfair question.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm looking forward to to seeing how it's going to end. I'm liking how they're not even addressing Jedi or anything like that. I'd like to see Bail Organa make an appearance.
Oh God, he's such a big
Jimmy
mouth.
Smith.
I hope they keep him away from his phone. No phone.
Oh yeah.
Please, no phone. Fail. No phone. No
Yep. But because Jimmy Smits is a tremendous actor.
Oh, he
I
was
think we'll
good.
see him.
He's
I
always
don't
been
think,
one of my
I think
favorites, so I hope we'll see him. Whether we'll see the Emperor or Tarkin or who knows, but I don't want to see a Jedi in it. You know, I like the story how it's it's just ordinary people thrust into extraordinary circumstances.
You don't think we've seen a Jedi yet, or you're saying you don't want to see another Jedi?
I don't want to see a Jedi in it.
Okay.
I think seeing a Jedi is going to take away from it.
Kind of blows the whole thing out, right? I mean, the
Exactly.
second you see a Jedi, everybody else does is kind of pointless at that point.
Yeah, it's like these people.
Jedi make things easy.
They're struggling to make out an existence. Whether it's on Andor's home world or other planets, and and here comes a Jedi, and like, oh well, that's nothing. And I'd rather see just ordinary people.
Well, they've have capitalized on ordinary. So let me ask you a related ordinary person question.
Okay.
Who do you think Uncle Harlow is? Is Uncle Harlow, is that a code name? Do you really think that's their uncle? Do you really think it's their uncle? Who do you think Uncle Harlow?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be a friend of hers that's higher up. They just call him Uncle. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Cyril Karn though.
It's Valiant Renegade.
Yeah.
Uncle Harlow.
Definitely not.
So I'm interested to see his arc, where it goes, where it takes him.
No, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Thank you, Bobby.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, John Graber. What do you have to say? How are you doing? Look at you there. Very professional like.
I'm getting there, aren't I? Look at that. Getting there.
You almost look tall. You must have that camera. You must have that camera positioned in a particular place.
The stool's
Doing the old Tom Cruise.
like
Right?
3 feet tall, but it's like a hard. I'm old. I need a softer butt thing. I'm old.
Stay on topic, John. Stay on topic.
Just saying. I love Andor, but honestly, like Coach, I wake up early anyway. I wake up like 5:30 every morning, and I usually watch it then. But if I wake up in the middle of the night for Tales of Jedi, I'll watch the whole freaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
I really would. I mean, I can't wait for that. I love it. I adore Andor. See, I'm old, so like the whole. I think I didn't come up with this. I think I heard somebody say this. It's like an old Western, which I love. Like I do like the slow burn. I mean, I like the building and building and building. And I thought the last episode, I love it. I love it. But Tales of Jedi, I can't wait.
Well, they both come out the same day.
Yeah,
they do.
John, did you feel like any of the other projects were actual slow burns, or people just used that phrase "slow burn" to make excuses for bad storytelling?
No, it's not.
I'm saying the other projects. Do you feel like people use that terminology, slow burn, just to make an excuse for a story that was going nowhere? And this is an actual slow burn?
I mean, there's some Westerns that are like 3 hours long, and I'll sit there. I love it in the winter when I'm not doing anything else. But yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it.
He's like a politician. He's just jumping around the question.
No, I'm not. I will not be a politician. No.
The whole show is about politicians, right?
I do.
This is your
and that's another thing. I am a political junkie. I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the machinations. I like everybody playing off each other. I do. I get off on that. I do get off on that.
I take off.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I was listening to Robert Meyer Burnett's live stream, his member chat live stream earlier, right? And that one fellow was like, "What about that conference room, right? What happened after the Death Star exploded? What happened? What were they all doing?" Right?
Oh, I'd like to see that. I do like him a lot.
I never even thought of that.
But the ISB stuff, like that room, I could watch that every day. I love that. Everybody pitting themselves against each other, and I get off on that. I like that a lot.
As someone who lives in corporate America, I'm like, I'm sorry to say, I identify with this, right?
Whatever. But I do like Andor a lot. I mean, I really enjoy it. But the Tales of the Jedi, not gonna lie, if I wake up at 2:00 in the morning, I'll get up and watch it. I'll watch the whole freaking thing.
Well, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you do. It's going to be different, right? Those two things are very different, right?
Yes.
Very different. All right, John. Appreciate it.
And then before I go, because I have a beautiful woman downstairs that wants to watch a movie with me, so I got to go.
What movie are you all watching?
I don't know. Well, see, my suggestion is I want to go home, get in bed, and turn on a good movie we've seen a bunch of times. So that's Star Wars, obviously. I'm thinking that's probably not
He's watching Rise of Skywalker.
I'm thinking that no. Okay, so I'm not big on ranking at all. I'm not big on ranking. But my favorite Star Wars movie, like hands down, Return of the Jedi. Hands down.
Empire Strikes Back is the best.
It's Redemption.
That's my boy.
Yep.
All right, John.
It's Redemption.
Thank you. Go.
But I gotta go. X-Wing, I texted you. If you can fix this for me, I will pay you. It's important to me.
What's broken?
Yeah, he needs help.
I need to convert a YouTube to QuickTime.
I don't think that's actual words.
Okay, so
I don't think you said anything right.
Because I am a loser. I don't watch any TV. I really don't. Well, I got Netflix.
Yeah, shoot me a Discord message. I'll help you.
Okay. I wish you would. I need it bad. I need it by tomorrow morning. Because you know why? Not that you all believe me. Okay. I'm a preacher now because they made me.
He's a preacher. John.
He's a made man.
John, I hope you enjoy your showing of The Last Jedi with your lady friend.
It's not Last Jedi. You know what? I think, okay, so this is going to light everybody up. I think The Last Jedi might be the most powerful Force Star Wars movie there is. Yep.
All right, so next.
Next,
boy. Let's see.
Don't even know how to answer that.
We were going to get a 45-minute rant on that one. We love you, John.
I have the power. Bye, John. All right, Brandon, what do you have to say?
Well, good evening, everyone. As far as Star Wars goes, I must confess I only watched the first episode, and I quite literally fell asleep in my office chair trying to watch it. So everything that you've talked about, I know nothing, and I don't plan on watching it. And as long as Disney still has it, I have that feeling it's just going to keep staying that way. And lots of people in the chat today have hit a lot of things right square pegged on the head. As long as Disney owns this, they, by their nature, by the way that their corporate structure is, will not be able to make a decent TV series of this, which it shouldn't be to begin with. Star Wars is a movie series. I will say that to the day I die. And I don't believe that they could make a decent movie. I do not believe that they have the capability, the brains, the wherewithal, let alone any of the skills necessary to do this.
Who's they, though?
Disney, Lucasfilm. Take the whole entire Disney corporate structure. I don't think there's enough brainpower within that company to run a microcircuit. Let's just put it that way. I don't trust them. I do not believe that they can do any of this right. They just, it's not in their nature. Now,
Disney's
could that change?
I mean, they got Marvel. They bought Marvel and Lucasfilm to cater to boys, and they turned it into. They tried to turn them into another Disney princesses and such.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the exact opposite direction of why they bought the franchises they did.
Absolutely, and that's part of the problem. These two properties, these two sets of companies, they don't mesh with the overall Disney, with how Disney has operated and what it's known for. they would be so much better off had it not happened. But since it did, all that I can say is I have no interest in this. I have no interest in any of the things they're doing. I have no interest in EA and any of the games they're doing because EA is trash. I have no interest in the Marvel side. It's the same deal. It's everything. Every part of this stems from the top. Each of these divisions, they all get their marching orders. They all get what they're allowed to do from the top. Now, I know that there's some changes that are trying to be done. Maybe, perhaps, if the rumors are true, I tend to believe that there is a bit of that going on. But just trying to steer this ship right, they will be lucky if they don't go bankrupt before they actually can. And with the economic woes that we are going to experience and have started experiencing, don't be surprised if it gets a lot worse than better. But on the positive side, I want to show you a little something. I want to show you a good problem to have. Matt, if you'll share the screen, if you can. If you can.
I can.
You can't share the screen?
I know I can. I can.
There we go. Okay. This is the problem that I have. Just this season alone. For anime. That's right, X-Wing. Let me, just for a second, I have 20 shows from this season alone that I'm watching, and that's not even including all of the shows that are in like a season 3 or 4. This is all the ones that I have seen or are completely new this season. By the time the season's done, I will have probably dropped 5. I probably will still really like 10, and there will be 5 that I will absolutely adore and will buy all the physical media for once they finally make it available. That's how good of a problem I have, and I love it, and I highly recommend to go check them out because there's always something for everybody. So that's my piece. I want Star Wars to be better, but we just have to face facts. It's gonna take some miracles. It really is. So, all right, everybody, you all have a great night, and everybody out there in the chat, be good, be nice, and we've got above 100 likes. Woohoo! That's good. That's what I like to see. Let's keep those like buttons getting deployed. Keep sharing this out, and as my pre-programmed little guide thing here says, let's see. Let me press the button here. Please like and share. And if you're new here, Coach and Nick hope to have earned your subscription. To help further the cause of great Star Wars, please also consider becoming a member. Peace out, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Brandon. Great to have you. All right. Let's go, Ghost Rider. Great to have you here. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's always good to be here hang out with my homies, my Star Wars homies.
Shit.
Yeah. Anyway, so so what are we talking about first? Grogu. Let's do Grogu first. All right, so Grogu was not supposed to be in Book of Boba. Okay? He should not have left Luke. He should have stayed with Luke. All right? Now, what happened with that was that Disney, the powers that be at Disney, probably came down on Lucasfilm, and they're like, hey, we're going to mandate that Grogu has to be back with Mando because he's our cash cow right now. They probably thought that Grogu, like the Mando and Star Wars, could not stand on its own without Grogu, which is complete BS. Especially if I'm right about the direction that the story is headed. Grogu has no place, no point in being in this part of the story anyway. It was perfect from a narrative perspective. It was everything with Grogu, that story arc was finished, as far as like for now. Yes, he could have come back later on, but right now, for this part of the story, it was his part of the story was finished. Now, as far as Andor goes, Andor is a great spy thriller show. All right. Now, some people say, oh, it doesn't feel like Star Wars. It does feel like Star Wars because it's just because it doesn't have Force users and lightsabers in it doesn't mean it's not Star Wars. It's just a different feel of Star Wars, a different flavor.
Right? Or that's not objective. That's subjective, right? I mean, that's subjective. Some people think, yeah, that's exactly what Star Wars is.
I would disagree because I mean, how much Force and stuff did A New Hope have in it? Like that's like the most minimal. It was the original, and it had the most minimal amount of Force and lightsabers in it that out of all the Star Wars we've had up until frickin' Mando season 1. Mando season 1, there was like next to no Force users except for Grogu, who would he hovered the mud horn for a little bit, and then like once every few episodes or so. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, this as far as this part of the Star Wars saga goes, this is taking place in a part of the timeline that is like the least fantasy of Star Wars, because Star Wars is a sci fantasy, right? Space wizards and all that. So this is the most sci-fi that Star Wars is. Least amount of fantasy, least amount of quote unquote magic that is in Star Wars. This is in this time frame right here. So, I mean, I don't think it's subjective at all.
Well, Lutheran has his shop that has the holocron or
holocron.
Yeah, the one for the one for good, the one for bad. So that's got a little bit of the Jedi stuff in it. I mean, for those of us who know that, I mean,
absolutely,
it's there. It's just not.
It's like, I mean, for those that are into fantasy and stuff, yeah, there are quote unquote magic items in the universe right now, but they're just not. People can't really activate it because there isn't anybody around other than these two most powerful dark Force users, and that are in the galaxy at the time. Like this is the time where the Jedi are all but forgotten. They're all but extinct. So, like I said,
sorry.
Who said resistance? Did I say resistance?
No. Someone did in the chat.
That came out.
Someone must have done. I just caught that too.
I was about to go wash my own mouth out with soap. Thank you. But this is just a different flavor. If the original series was chocolate, this would be strawberry. You know what I mean?
It could be a swirl, right? You could consider it to be a swirl. Some of us would.
Oh yeah, swirls. I like swirls. Swirls pretty good. Yeah, no, I appreciate the slow burn. And X-Wing, I totally agree with you that the others were just called slow burns to mask bad storytelling.
Well, that was the fans' explanation away of it, right? Was that this was a slow burn. In the first few episodes was saying, hey, just wait, it's really going to pick up. That was why they called it a slow burn. And then we get to the end of the season, I'm like, well, I'm waiting for that Roman candle. And then they light it and and you're like, well, slow burn it was. You were correct. But boy, the finales.
It was more like a snake, like the snakes rather than a Roman candle. But anyways, I think that was everything that I had to say.
All right.
Go watch Werewolf by Night.
Yes, I totally agree with you on Werewolf by Night. What a treat. What a treat.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ghost Rider. All right. Valiant, we'll go to you next, and then Mary, and then Master Paul.
Well, it's good to see everybody. Hope everybody's having a good night.
Hey, Valiant.
Hey, Valiant.
Yeah, look, the Andor thing has been interesting, and we finally got to the point where we've all talked about this here on Echo Base quite some time. It was going to happen. The apathy was going to take hold, right? And one thing that I have heard from everybody, I mean, almost universally everybody, is that the people who are watching this show are really enjoying it. And a lot of people who watch the show, y'all talk about the slow burn thing. A lot of people that are enjoying it now, I remember everybody saying how they kind of had to slog through those first episodes, the first one or two episodes. And that's a problem for a television series. It's unlike, I think John brought up earlier, like he loves the slow burn Westerns. It's very different when it's a movie, if it's a 3-hour movie, right? Because when you sit down, you watch a movie, you're going to watch the movie from start to finish. You're going to sit down, unless you get really bored, you're going to turn it off. Or like last week when I fell asleep in the middle of watching Halloween Ends. Literally fell asleep. Oh, God, don't even get started on that trash. But the point is that you'll watch it. When you have a television show from a business side of things, you can't have that. You have to give the audience a hook right away in the first episode. Doesn't mean that you have to rush to some big event, but you've got to give them something to sink their teeth into. You don't want your audience getting to the end of the first episode and going, eh. Now, in streaming, they release 2 or 3 episodes at a time, where we have binge models like Netflix, and you can just lob in right there, right? Andor's kind of in the middle. So we got the first 3 episodes of Andor. By the time people got to the end of the 3rd episode, they were like, oh, it's picking up. But if they had released it week to week, imagine how bad it could have been, right? People would watch the first episode, then the next week, the 2nd episode, and then that's it. Your audience is checked out. So that is, I'm sorry, that is bad writing for a show. You need the hook in the first episode. Script Doctor, if he were here, sure, a lot of you people know that name. Script Doctor, he's on a lot of YouTube channels. He'll tell you that right off the bat. Now, you got to have that hook. You got to keep the audience, not like a movie that you're going to sit down and watch in one sitting. This is a television series. That's number one.
I would say that's something that House of Dragon has done very well, is that, yes, it's an overarching story, but in every episode there is a hook. There's a microcosm, this little story within a story that happens every week that keeps you going.
Yep. Indeed.
Well, I'm pretty sure that with Andor, the first 3 episodes were one episode that they split up into 3 episodes to fulfill an episode quota. That's what it feels like to me.
It was 2 hours long, though, and that brings me to the next point.
Right.
Is that those first 3 episodes combined for over 120 minutes of official watch time, right?
Right.
So we finally got Nielsen data this week, like not Parrot Analytics, which is not a good source. A lot of people were citing that and all this, and then they came out today and they adjusted it. Said, "Oh, we made a mistake. Andor was actually a little bit more popular than what we said. It was, but still kind of low." It's like, no, dude. The Nielsen numbers have come out now for Andor's premiere week, and it's official. It was as soft as we all thought that opening was. And here's the deal: is that as good as a show, and it's a shame. You're right, it's a shame, right? Everybody's enjoying this. A lot of people think this is some of the best written Star Wars that we've gotten out of Disney, at least on Disney Plus. That we've seen that has been really entertaining. There's just simply not enough of you. That's the bottom line. The apathy has officially taken hold. Book of Boba Fett premiered, and it hit the Nielsen charts in its premiere week. And I think it also released on a Wednesday. So it had the same 5 days of measurement in the Nielsen numbers that Andor did. Okay. It released with 1 episode that was 38 minutes. Its watch time on the Nielsen charts for those first 5 days were about 389 million watch minutes, according to what Nielsen tracked. If we presume that everybody watched that 1 episode of Book of Boba Fett from start to finish, which it's a 38-minute episode, we can assume that they watched the whole thing. That means that it got somewhere a little north of 10 million views in its opening 5 days. Andor racked up 645 million minutes of watch time in its first 5 days. Now, right off the bat, you think, oh, well, that's great, right? That's way more than what Boba got. The problem is that it debuted with 120 minutes. Now, most people who are going to sit down, this is why I brought this up earlier, most people who are going to sit down and watch a show or a movie will sit and consume 2 hours of content, right? They're not going to sit down and consume 9 hours of Stranger Things all in one sitting. We know, based on data that Nielsen and Netflix has put out, you get maybe 30 to 35% of your audience that will binge and complete a Cobra Kai or a Stranger Things season 4 part 1 in one weekend sitting, right? That's unusual. With this, you can assume that if people are going to go watch a 90 to 120 minute movie on Netflix or Disney Plus, they'll sit and consume 120 minutes of Andor, in that 5 days. So we can assume take the same assumption, 120 watch minutes into 645 million gives you an audience size of just a little over 5 million. That means that half the audience for Star Wars has disappeared since Boba Fett. Now, they may have shown up for Obi-Wan because you had Obi-Wan in there in the rematch of the century, but frankly, Obi-Wan's numbers were not really any markedly better than Boba Fett.
And that was a butts and seats kind of premiere.
It was, and it gets even worse. Because the biggest shows that we've had, Star Wars-wise, obviously have been Mando Season 1 and Mando Season 2. Nothing else that Disney has put out for Star Wars has come close to those things. And this is where it really gets bad. When Mando Season 2 finished at the end of 2020, almost 2 years ago now, guys. They had, now remember, Nielsen measurements are U.S. households or North American households, which includes Canada. Disney Plus has added 15 plus million new North American subscribers since then. There's no you have subscribers going up on Disney Plus and viewership, not just for Star Wars, but for Marvel shows as well, that has stagnated or dropped. That should never be happening. That is fan apathy. That is people checking out because they've been handed too many bad products in a row. And now when they actually get a good show, kind of figured this was coming, they're going to put out something good. And there's a huge chunk of that audience just doesn't give a flying flip anymore. That's a shame. It's a shame for guys how do you have a show that has Diego Luna and Stellan Skarsgård in it and not have it be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That alone, those two actors in that show alone should be a big draw.
Well, it is good. That's the problem, right?
That's what I'm saying. But people don't care.
Listen, Valiant, I have to say, honestly, for me, I just wanted to see them wrong about She-Hulk, it being worse than She-Hulk, right? About Andor being worse than She-Hulk from the
it's not worse than
perspective.
She-Hulk. Nothing's worse than She-Hulk.
Well, but there was that soundbite, right?
Viewership.
Back at that beginning, right? It was like, oh, it's worse than She-Hulk.
Wait, I'm confused, man. I'm sorry, Matt. Wait, I don't know what you're talking about.
There was some things going.
Do you think it's referring to watch time? Like more people watch She-Hulk?
I know what you're talking about. That was a bogus, and I'm sorry. I called him out.
It was from Whip Media.
I made a whole video on it.
That is a totally I'm sorry. It's a trash website. I called him out on Twitter, and I said, "Hey, now this." And let me tell you this: the same week that Whip Media put that stupid freaking report out, it was bigger than Rings of Power, it was bigger than House of the Dragon, all this kind of stuff. That you remember? Anybody remember the week? It was September 25th. Is when they put that out. They said this week She-Hulk's bigger than everything. The Nielsen numbers, the same one that showed that Andor just racked up.
It wasn't even there.
Not even. She-Hulk was gone. It fell off the chart completely. It was out.
I don't see it on Nielsen anywhere.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
That's how bad it fell off. That was the week the Nielsen chart you're looking at there, X-Wing, that we were talking about privately. That is the same week that Whip Media put that stupid bogus article out. They got all of 600 followers on Twitter. I tagged them, and I'm like, because on my video, I'm like, hey, Whip Media, I got some questions for you. You care to comment on this now? Crickets.
Well, actually, you and I talked about it. It's that TV Time app where you're like, you have
the
to
TV
get the
Time
app,
app.
and you have to say,
you can
I'm
bot that
watching
thing
this,
so bad.
It's like,
it's junk. The only thing look, watch the Nielsen charts. That is I'm not saying that Nielsen's perfect, y'all, but Nielsen is the closest thing we have to accuracy because they have a track record. Yes, a lot of TV stations and streamers have been complaining about, because where the audiences are constantly moving, but I still trust what the data that Nielsen is gathering more than anybody else. Anybody else notice that Samba TV ghosted all their numbers right when Andor started? They haven't posted anything on anybody's show since then.
So question for you, Valiant, because we're older, and Debbie, question for Debbie also. Did any of y'all have the actual Nielsen boxes? Do you all remember?
Yes.
I had it. They used to send us the Ghost Rider too. They used to send you the Nielsen box. You put it.
You got chosen as a very special American family.
Got paid for it.
Yeah.
I remember the guy that used to come in and and take the measurements. His name was Matt.
it was a privilege to be a Nielsen family, right?
Yes.
They bring you the box, and you were a participant.
And before the box,
that's how long Nielsen.
You had a
was in
notepad and a
business.
pencil. You had to manually write what you were watching, and then mail it back every week.
100%. And they used to do the exit polling for movies. What a concept!
Yeah.
Right? Nielsen was there with clipboards.
Well, there's still companies like Post Track and guys like that, Cinema, one of the Cinema Score, or whatever. They still do exit polls at theaters, which I think is pretty cool. Like Deadline will cite it. Like right now, I've got an article up for Black Adam. I got to record a box office video in the morning, and they have all their Post Track data. Hey, this 90% of kids, and this is actually in the article, 90% of kids love Black Adam that went to go see it. It was like a huge hit, right? The critics hated it, but the audiences are loving it. But again, just like Andor, because of apathy, because of so many bad DC products that have come out in recent years, people just didn't care. And everybody, like the audiences are loving Black Adam, but it doesn't matter because it's going to finish this weekend with maybe
I can't be bothered with it.
Yeah, it's going to finish this weekend with maybe $130 million globally on a $200 million budget. It's got to get to $600 million to break even.
I think it will with word of mouth, though, Valiant.
I had a lot of fun watching it, though. I had a lot of fun watching. He's back. Watching.
It might, Debbie, but
I think it's a word of mouth. I really do. I think it's a word of mouth thing. I think it'll, when people see it, and they can say, "Look, I don't care what the critics say," because I saw it and I was very, very surprised.
It's not working for Andor.
Right, Debbie, I do wonder one thing regarding Black Adam and why people aren't seeing it. I wonder how much of that is a certain degree of people just being bored of superhero movies in general, given the sheer amount of stuff we're getting from Marvel.
It could be, but
it could be, but I think this is different. I really do.
How many?
Debbie, it's going to take
Secret Wars and Captain America 4. Like, I think the love is still there.
Yeah, this is in no way a.
I think it's the storytelling that's gone downhill.
No, Debbie, I know it's not, but here's the reality of it. Even with great word of mouth, with an opening that's, and I say soft, it's soft for a movie of this scale, and it is. It's going to take a word of mouth that is going to defy all logic and historical norms. That's the problem. Because it's got, like I said, it's got to get to 600 million. Most of these, even Spider-Man No Way Home, y'all. Now, granted, that had a 260 million opening in the States, in the US and Canada, but it went to a 3.1x. Most of these superhero movies roll off at somewhere around a 2.5x from opening weekend. That means that Black Adam could very well finish globally under, at or around 400 million. It's got to get to 6. It's going to have to go to almost a 5x leg out from opening weekend if these numbers turn out to be true Sunday, tomorrow morning.
What did Maverick do?
Over 7. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's going to have to get Top Gun Maverick sized leg outs. That's what I'm saying, is that if it can't do that, then
I can only go from working there and seeing the amount of people I work in a 14 complex cinema. We had Black Adam in 6 of the cinemas, including the 2 biggest ones, and we were getting sellout crowds in the smaller ones, but the bigger ones were almost full. But I'll tell you the other one, what that was even bigger was Ticket to Paradise. That movie was selling out every show, and we had that in 4 theaters.
Let me tell you something, Debbie. Ticket to Paradise coming in this weekend had a domestic projection of somewhere around 12 million. It's already at 7 million with just Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it was hot. It was very hot.
I thought 12 million was low. I said, look, it's Julia Roberts and George Clooney. That is going to drag some butts in the seats. And look, it's a rom-com. Rom-coms usually don't do great this time of year, but the star power of that movie is going to help it a lot. So, and it's already coming. It already has like 70, 80 million internationally.
Yep.
No, I was sitting at the theater yesterday after watching Black Adam, and there were a lot of folks there for Ticket to Paradise.
Yep.
And I ended up on a live stream with Justin and some other folks, and so they came back out, and I was like, how'd you find it? They enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've seen both of them, and I can't wait to see them both again.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Valiant. Let's keep going. And so, Mary, what's up, Mary?
Well, I have not seen Black Adam yet. I know you guys are talking about it right now, but I live in a small town theater, and we only have 2 movies. We have Halloween's Ends and we have Black Adam, but I haven't gone. I'm waiting until after Halloween to go see it, if it's still going to be at my hometown theater. And Andor, I know you're talking about Andor, and yeah, I do have Grogu on this shirt. I'm feeling a little guilty. Actually, probably looks jealous with this little
Dude,
guy
I
doing on my
love
shirt.
Grogu, man.
He's
F all the
a,
hate. I love
he's a-
Grogu.
I almost use a no word. He's a Grogu simp. He loves
I
Oh,
love Grogu.
Tell me something, Matt. What was the hook that brought everybody in to watch Mandalorian? How did that first episode end?
With a big old hook.
With the fingers.
Oh yeah.
With the fingers touching,
Yeah.
like the Michelangelo painting.
Yep.
That is how you end a first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everybody went,
I remember watching.
"What is that?" And
I'll
you
say- and
couldn't
I'll-
wait till the next week.
And I'll say this too, because I know Nick's watching right now. Omega was the same thing for the Bad Batch.
Yep.
Oh,
No.
I want to welcome everybody to this week's edition of Shit Takes from Master Paul.
Well, I don't understand.
And Coach is
Omega,
watching
why
too.
don't
He's
you
texting me in the
join
background.
Omega was a Kathleen Kennedy mandate, is what she was.
You know, they used to tar and feather people for stuff like that back in the day.
Oh yeah.
All right, Mary, keep going. Don't let these
Well,
folks.
I did watch
Keep
episode 7 of Andor, and I first saw. I think
He
myself.
ran away.
K.
The KX.
UFO. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is how they really were supposed to meet Andor and him. I'm thinking, well, how come he's grabbing him by the neck? Like, oh gosh, here we go. I can't wait until the Tales of the Jedi. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that. It's a good, I saw the trailer and I was shocked to see almost every single Jedi, including Yaddle, and I was shocked to see her in that trailer, and I was like, Yaddle, when was the last time I saw her? Oh yeah, my brain just clicked. The Phantom Menace brief moment, and I'm thinking, yeah, I should have watched that movie over and over and click on pause, check and see if I'm seeing her somewhere. And I'm thinking, whatever happened to her after that movie? I was totally confused when I saw the Jedi Trails trailer, and I was like, I'm confused. How come I haven't seen Yaddle and from the first movie, from the prequels all the way to now? Thinking, where have she been after all this time? And I'm thinking my guess. I was looking like how Google's a good thing for information on Star Wars. I was just checking to see if she was really Grogu's mother. To be honest,
We don't know.
but I got confused with Yaddle when I saw the trailer. I was like, where have she been after all this time? I got Grogu on this shirt. I got this little guy right here. My little Grogu action figure.
Mm-hmm.
He is so. He should have stayed with Luke. He should have stayed. Like I was predicted, and all of a sudden, when I saw some clips on YouTube, Luke sent him back to Mando. Back you going. Maybe he wants to be with family. I'm thinking, okay, he wants to be with family. That's probably what he wanted.
That's bad storytelling, is what it is.
Yeah, that's. I was a little bit disappointed with why he.
Mandalorian Jedi.
Yep.
And Mary, let me interrupt you for a second before I kick him from the stream, because I have to read it. Because there was a member chat. Valiant Renegade, thank you for being a member for 20 months. And the member chat reads, "This show sucks." And you know what, brother? You do too. See ya. All right. So let's keep going. Mary, please continue.
And I was watching well, I'm not halfway finished with Book of Boba Fett yet. I'm still focused on Andor's story, getting to know it. I just can't wait for more Star Wars. I can't wait for Bad Batch season 2. Yeah, Omega. Omega. I don't understand why she just wants to join them. Like, what is her connection with the Bad Batch? What's her connection? I'm like, what's her connection? So I was like watching. I was going, I think what's her connection with these guys? I was like, I was watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I was like, same thing with Leia. I'm thinking, what is she doing? Little Leia, what are you doing? And, she was thinking she's going to get herself in trouble again. So I was like, I was about ready to, just like, but with Andor's season, was it episode 7? And the end of that episode, he gets caught. Andor got caught, but he's, I'm a tourist. He keeps on saying it over and over, and I'm like, yeah, he keeps on saying it. So I can't wait for what episode 8's going to bring. Maybe he might be in the prison. I'm thinking, please don't be in the sex and prison Jen so was in. But that was like later on. So
I think, Mary, we'll see the prison. We'll see who he's there with. We'll see who he interacts with. And I think it'll be quite interesting.
It'll be a time jump.
Yeah,
well, there has to be. So Debbie brings up an interesting question, because there has been an interview or two where Diego has confirmed there is a time jump. Because remember, this whole first season is supposed to be, it's 5 BBY. It's supposed to be a year, though, right? And up to this point, it seems like we've seen the space of a week and some change, right? We've seen a span of days, which is clearly not a year, right? So my suspicion is, because episode 7, the bridge episode, right, kind of concluded 2 previous arcs, and we know 8, 9, and 10 is an arc, and then 11 and 12 is the finale, right? So I have to believe where we're at, 8, 9, and 10, or something about it. We know he can't be in the prison for 6 years.
Right.
But something about him getting out of the prison, I think, has to come next. And then I'm assuming for the finale, maybe that's when the time jump comes, because he has said something like, just when you think you know where you're at, we start again, right? And so if they're going to do that time jump, I don't think they're going to, maybe they will, but I don't think they're going to well, we know they can't, because it's a year. So they can't even leave him in jail for a period of time. It has to be, getting him out of there, right? So I'm very curious.
We already saw the prison break in the trailer, right?
Yeah,
we did.
That's what I saw.
And that's the X-Wing. You bring up another interesting point, which has been very, very different for me, for all of us in this show, right? We're used to the trailers. When you think about Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi,
first 2 episodes, maybe
2 or 3 episodes, and the trailer is done. We're still recontextualizing things we've seen not only in the trailers, but in these 1 minute TV spots or Twitter spots.
Everybody was waiting for that destroyer. We didn't get it until 7.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so we keep seeing things. I'm like, wow, well done. Right. Well done. And all of that. It's very, very unexpected.
Lynn, if we have to see 7 years in prison, I'm not going to watch it.
Well, we can't. We know we can't. I'm with you. All right, Mary, last thought before, because I have to get to Master Paul, and then, of course, I have to let X-Wing say something. I mean,
you don't have to.
I keep talking. But, Mary, last thoughts before I go to Master Paul.
Yeah, I'm hoping that at 8, I'm hoping we'll see what kind of like prison suit he's got in.
Well, we know it's white. We know
it's a white jumper with orange trim.
White and orange, right? We know a lot about the prison, right? I think it's Ord Mantell. We'll see if I'm right, but we know it's a submerging up and down. We know a lot about the prison, right? White and orange. Mama Bear is almost there. She's mostly orange, though. It's Halloween orange. She's all.
Well,
what was the name of the planet with the Fortress Inquisitorius? Why can't I remember?
Nur.
Yeah, no, it's on Nur for sure, and Reva's running it.
Oh, all right. That's why he doesn't need to say anything. All right. Thank you, Mary. Great to have you. All right, Master Paul. I don't even know what Paul is thinking about Andor and the rest of us. Tell us.
Let's first talk a little bit about that apathy we were talking about, because until a few weeks ago, that was me. I was barely going to give this show a chance at all. And the only way that I was willing to give it a chance was if initially I waited until all the episodes had released and then watched it in one go, much like I did with Rings of Power. However, talking with a couple of my friends, I was convinced to decide to basically get caught up through the first 6 episodes so that I could see the 7th episode, well, live with Coffee on Korriban at his house. But I definitely also like Andor overall, for sure, more than I do Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. And as far as saying that Andor is better than Mando, I don't think I would quite go that far. If anything, I would say it's apples and oranges. Which do you like more? If you like that more slow burn, dialogue heavy type of storytelling, Andor's the show for you. If you want basically a Saturday morning cartoon, Mando's the show for you. And that led me to think, and I forget what the guy's name is, but the Den of Nerds said something that even though Andor is a good show, it's not something along the lines of it's not the direction that Star Wars should go in going forward. And I do kind of agree with that, where I think, at least how I see it, Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi tried to be that Saturday morning cartoon style of show that Mando also was, and fell terribly at that. So I think Andor, whether they intended it or not, is something of an overcorrection, where it's more serious, it's more of a slow burn. And I see both of those as 2 extremes. And Star Wars fatigue aside, I think in order for them to make a good show, they should find a happy balance between the two, where, yeah, it's got its humorous moments and it can have its, Saturday morning cartoon aspects, but slow it down, have that serious time, have that expository dialogue, what have you. If they can find that happy medium, I think they'll have something good on them.
So
you mean like episode the Jedi with Ahsoka and Mando?
Yeah.
I think that was
like that.
Exactly. So Paul, has there been anything comedic for you in Andor? Anything comedic?
Maybe the last bit of episode 7 where he's getting arrested for being a tourist.
Oh, yes. Don't hang. Tell him I didn't mean hang. Okay.
Yeah, that, but certainly not.
E2 emo.
I'll say it this way: they're not trying to be funny,
right?
Like they may have in other things.
See, Paul, I agree with you. Apples and oranges. I like to savor a good apple, and I like to drink a really good glass of orange juice. And that's how I look at those 2 things.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think one is definitively better than the other. It's just, what do you like more?
They're each different in their presentation. One is meant to bring in a little bit of comedic action, but yet still be kind of serious. The other one is definitely serious to the point, and this is where we are. We are doing, and if a little comedic moment slips in, which will happen when K2SO is converted, then it'll be towards the end of the show anyway. So,
right.
All right. So let me interrupt for just a second. Nick Craig, great to have you here. $2 super chat. Appreciate it. I'm calling it the Ghost is going to free Andor. What do we think about that? I think by Ghost he means the Rebels.
Not me.
What do we think about that?
Bad move.
Could they? Yeah. Do I want them to? Not really.
I think it should stand on its own. They don't need anything from any other series in here.
Just because they can cross over doesn't always mean that they should.
So I think I know how he gets freed. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I don't think it's the Ghost. But Nick Craig, thank you for the super chat. This video is for you. All right, perfect. Oh, he's gone. Wait, the X-Wing, are you still there? I wanted to put you on pause for a second. X-Wing has to go. I want to make sure I give him a chance. Is he back? It's just black. So, all right, keep going, Paul. If he comes back, we'll cut to him.
So, as far as Andor episode 8, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how he gets out of the jail and all of that. As far as Jedi Survivor, I'm definitely looking forward to that because I like Jedi Fallen Order. I think, unironically, Jedi Fallen Order is probably one of the, like, in the top 3 for sure, best things that Disney has ever done with Star Wars. And did you guys know also that there is sort of a tie-in book that's coming out set between Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor? It's called Jedi Scars.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta look.
Yeah.
Gotta look at that book.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be checking that out too. And Mando season 3, I'll definitely be checking that out also. And I'm following what you're saying in the chat. I hope it doesn't suck, but you're right. There's still the chance that it could.
Becky, come back. By the way, come back. She was here and she left. Come back, Becky.
See a screen up there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm seeing a screen too.
X-Wing, are you there? Thank you, Paul.
It's all right. I'm actually going to hop off here too, but if I may mention before I go,
yeah, please.
I will let everyone know, just to, of course, let them talk about my channel for a moment. Tuesday, November 1st, we're having a very special stream for my birthday, because that is my birthday.
Well, happy birthday, bud.
Thank you. I'm going to be.
That's when you get into DS9, right?
Yes, that'll be the first. That's a Tuesday night Trek stream. It's going to start at 5 p.m. That's when we're first getting into Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But after the Star Trek stuff is done with, the stream's going to keep going, and it'll just turn into a chill stream. Everyone's invited to show up. It'll be open pop-ins, and I hope to see everyone there.
Hey, Paul, wait 1 second.
Yes.
So I got a break at work between 9:30 and 10 p.m. So hopefully you're at pop-ins by then.
Ooh,
there's old Bill Shatner. There she is.
Thank
She's
you.
there with Bill.
Thank you for showing me that, Debbie. That is
That
really
was a
nice.
very
awesome,
important
Debbie.
note for me.
Wonderful.
I will
Nice.
never
All right.
ever forget that.
Everyone,
That's cool.
make sure we see Paul for his birthday. Good to have you here, Paul.
Yeah,
All right, X-Wing,
I'll have to look you up and subscribe to your channel.
Thank you. My
Star
channel
Wars
is
guys.
the Star Wars
Star Wars
guys.
guys.
Okay. I'll
All
have
right.
to
See you guys
write
later.
that down so I won't
Take it
forget.
easy, Master Paul.
All right, X-Wing, you said you have to go. I want to give you your time. I always think you're here for me forever, but you have to go. So let's.
You
hear
you
from
said no, so I was like, well, I guess I'm staying there.
No, well, I said no because I always say no. But please go if you have
No,
to go.
let's get John. Let's get John in. It's fine. You know, I'm
Are
just
you
chopped
sure?
liver, whatever. You know.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
John
fine.
C. Good to see you here again, brother.
Yes.
Good to see you,
Welcome
John.
back. Welcome
What's up,
back.
everybody? How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're good.
High five. What do you have
Great.
to say?
Well, I've been quietly in the wings. I've kind of dropped off the YouTube scene for a while, and I just needed to go into Andor completely fresh. I was so disappointed with Book of Boba Fett. Will probably never watch that series again, ever in my life, ever. I was so disappointed in Kenobi. The only thing I'll watch is the Kai Patterson edit, where he shrunk the whole series down into 2.5 hours. I thought that was absolutely fantastic what he did. And that's something that I'm going to probably show to my nieces and nephews when they're old enough to understand that. The show, Kenobi, I'll never watch it ever again in my life. Zero rewatchability. So this was really important, Andor, for me, because it was actually something that I've been looking forward to since they announced it, whatever it was, 3 years ago now. That they've just been sitting on this thing. What's up, Nick? And I was really interested in this because this is exactly what I've been wanting to see. I've wanted to see the undercurrents, the origins, the backstories of this war between the rebellion and the Empire. If we take the first original trilogy, all we were getting were the highlights. You're getting the big major battles, but you're not getting into the minutia, the daily lives, the grind, what's going on. You know, we saw things like that in Fallen Order with following Iden Versio. And then you got to see it from the perspective of an empire, of a soldier for the empire, and then realizing like, oh my God, a million of my friends just died on that Death Star. And you start to pull in this emotion from the real life. And I've been watching Andor, and I've got no problem with the slow burn. I like it. I like how they're just getting into this. I like the drama. The scene between the ISB officers in the last episode, you just see them conniving and calculating for each other. And all I kept on thinking was Governor Price from the Thrawn novels. And just that, I need power. That's the only way I can get up in this society is by cutthroat, power. And then they become ruthless against each other, which then in turn means they're ruthless against the systems that they're in control of. And they're willing to do so the power. It's so great. And then to see how the rebellion is forming just from these like average people that are just starting to stand up. And the scene between Cassian and his adoptive mother, where she's just like, I've had it. Like, that's it. I'm done. I have nothing else to live for. I'm standing up. I'm going to die on my 2 feet instead of going out on my knees.
What about that whole dialogue around, well, I'll miss you, blah, blah. And she's like, well, that's just love. I'm like, wow. I mean, for me, it hit. I was like, that hit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, gracious sakes, right? Who would ever thought someone would write that in a Star Wars show? I was like,
yeah,
right.
Very reminiscent of WandaVision.
Yeah, because what is it? Love persevering, pain is love. It was the same.
Grief is love persevering.
Yes, it was that same like, ugh, right? And he was like, ooh, you know what I mean? I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's been two episodes of setup. One big episode. It's just a different model. I don't need the pew pew and the lightsaber battles, every single thing. I don't need to love Star Wars and have the Jedi and absolutely everything. I love this. I love how this is going. I wish they had launched this sooner. I love espionage movies.
Yes.
Because you can't do the boom, boom, pew, pew in espionage movies because espionage means intellectual. There's setup, there's planning, there's failures, there's backstabbing. There's all that different stuff. There's mistrust of everybody. Where do we go? I mean, I remember watching, I've been watching everybody. I remember people predicting that the person who was on Andor's team, they were like, oh, well, you could tell that they're setting up that these two guys are going to be buddies forever. And then he ends up shooting the guy. I was just sitting there like, whoa, where did Andor's just like stands up, kills him just like that. Doesn't even think about it. And he's like, nope, done. Got to get rid of this guy.
Well, for me, I mean, it's like, as a fan of Alias and The Blacklist and some of these other things that have been on mainstream TV for some time, I'm like, the dramaticism in this series really hits for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But on your point about no pew pew and no lightsabers and none of the rest of it, it's a huge barrier for entry for folks that are like, I just came off of Kenobi, which was all pew pew and lightsabers and the characters that I always have known. And now I'm over here and I'm like, it's not the same thing. Right. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I think it was Thor Skywalker has been saying since the start. He's like, this show might not be for you. Like it's not, maybe you're just not the star, like that type of Star Wars that you're looking for, which is fine.
It's not the Star Wars you're looking for.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed it so far. I'm looking forward to seeing the last few episodes and see where they take this. I just think, I mean, it's weird. I mean, you're always going to have the haters. I think I recently posted something in the Facebook group and somebody was calling me a Disney shill. And I was just laughing because it's like anybody who's ever seen me come on this channel, I am in no way a Disney shill.
You can never be more of a Disney shill than X-Wing. X-Wing
Yeah.
is the original Disney show. So I mean, you're good, John. Hey, okay.
So it's just been, meeting.
Thanks, Kathleen.
You've seen so many complaints about Star Wars from the fans saying we want new stuff, create new characters, and it's like, well, dude, we got Lucian now. I mean, how great is Stellan Skarsgård?
Amazing.
I mean, it's just
absolutely amazing.
He comes
I told other folks, I'm like, am I the only guy that keeps watching him laughing at the end of that episode? And why do I like that? He's like, I keep watching it. I'm like, it's amazing.
That acting level's up there with like freaking like Christian Bale and freaking Anthony Hopkins, and you know, like he's up there with them.
Just absolutely amazing. All right, John, final thoughts before we go to X-Wing.
Man, I was just gonna say that scene with Stellan Skarsgård and Mothma. That was just amazing. I didn't even understand that. She had no clue that raid was going on. We learned that. She's like, "Was that you? What was And he was planning all that behind her, and just the realism. He's like, "Look, if you're not willing to get your hands bloody, then this isn't for you." And what does she do? She turns around and goes into that. She's surrounded by agents in her own home at her own dinner party, and just that constant walking around the room, and as it just starts getting super intense, and then suddenly she just says, "Smile," because she knows it's like,
dude, Genevieve, what they're telling us, what they're giving us from Mon Mothma, right? It's really amazing. Right. I mean, she has this public persona, even more than Luthen, right? She has this public persona, right, where she's on it and she has to be on it and all this rest of it. And then she goes home and her husband's a spy, her driver's a spy, her daughter doesn't love her, right? What we've seen,
Yep.
And all this stuff. And she's like, oh my God, another day in my life. Right. For me, it's absolutely amazing.
Final thoughts. This show's going to age well.
Yeah,
just like Rogue One did.
Yeah.
Rogue One aged well, and I will go back and watch that movie over and over again. And I think this show, as time goes on, if they stick to this course and this type of writing and this type of filming, this show is going to age really well. And I just hope more people come on board with it that were the Star Wars fans and give it a chance.
And we've got one more season in 2024, right?
Thank God. Okay, perfect.
Whoa, I can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. We got some grifter Nick. Some Nick person showed up.
Hey, Nick.
What's up, guys?
What's up, bro? All right, X-Wing. I know you've been trying to leave. I know you got to take a break. Tell us something good. Tell us something good.
I can't agree with John Seymour. I think this is going to age well. And it's tough for me because I've seen a lot of people say this is not the direction that Star Wars needs to go. And I just feel like I have to push against that a lot. Like I really got to push back against that. I think it is a good direction for Star Wars to go because even though we are truly in the dark times right now, and you can see that by the viewership of the show, and you can see that, you have and well written is debatable when we talk about how a show is written. I think it's well written, both in dialogue and well acted as well. We have something that's beautiful, and Star Wars fans are like, couldn't be bothered. Don't care. I really don't care. So the apathy is true, far more so than when they tried to make it a thing when what was going on with Solo, right? I think it was just a movie that people didn't like. I don't think Star Wars apathy was real at that time. I think it is very real now. And so
Solo though came off the back of the trilogy Shall Not Be Named.
Right. And so to say that for me to say that I didn't think apathy was real then, but it is now is a fairly bold statement because a lot of people really hated it, but I don't think they were ready to give up on it at the end of the sequel trilogy. I think we've gotten to the point now after the sequel trilogy and then after those 2 shows where they are ready and willing to give up. And I think they have. And I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing.
X-Wing, I agree with you. They weren't ready to give up, but they were stinking mad. And that was what why Solo
and that's
failed.
fine, but
They
they're still
were
watching the
pissed.
show at that point, right? And that's why I think
Yes.
that Boba Fett and Kenobi, like we heard Valiant talking about earlier, I think that's why it still got the viewership that it did. That's
Well, I
why Book
agree
of
on
Boba Fett
that.
got 10.
So X-Wing, interesting question on this point, right? If they had released another movie between Solo and now, as we've been interspersed with these Disney Plus properties, do we think that would have changed? And I guess I'm assuming the movie was good, right? Maybe that's a big assumption, but you know what I'm saying, right? If they had put another movie out interspersed with these Disney Plus properties, like Marvel has been doing, right? Marvel has been doing movies, Disney Plus, you know, special features, all this stuff, and Star Wars has only been doing Disney Plus series. Do we think that would have made a difference in keeping the viewership engaged?
So
yes,
the answer to that question is yes. Do I think that fixes Star Wars? No, because it doesn't matter if it comes out at a different time. If you mistreat legacy characters, fans are going to be mad. Period. I don't care if you do it at Christmas or if you do it at Easter. Fans are going to be mad about it. And so do I think it might have helped to retain a portion of viewership? Yeah, maybe. Possibly, but I mean, what's the point of really even speculating about that, because it didn't happen that way. So, wow, booted to the bar. Okay, I see it. No, it's fine. My 5 minutes are up. It's fine.
Welcome.
I mean, it's their channel, right? It's like when the dads are gone, right? I'm just doing my thing. But on your point, X-Wing, you know, for me, I feel like I'm a little bit different on this point, right? Where I feel like if they kept cinematic going, right? If they kept that theater experience going, it would have helped them continue to build the interest in the Disney Plus properties.
That entire theory completely depends upon the fact that they would have made a good Star Wars movie.
Well, yeah, of course.
And we all know that generally, if we're, what is that?
Who is that noise?
Somebody's got to mute.
What's the noise?
Who's banging a cup?
Don't look at me, Coach.
Oh, sorry. That's my family.
Was that Coach? Was that Coach? I muted Nick like it was Nick. There's Coach's family again. We're good.
What if they had done?
I live with a house full of women. Sorry.
I'm with you on the content, right? The content has to be good.
Yeah, so I guess I would say the closing argument, there really is an argument, is that it really doesn't matter how they released this show, where they released it. I think it might have helped retain some viewership, but the problem that we're facing right now is that we do have what would be considered a generally good show, and it's not being ill received by people. It's just not being received at all. Yeah. And that's a sign of true apathy. This is not hate watching. You know, it's not getting any of that kind of attention. I saw multiple YouTubers come out on Twitter and say, look, this isn't something that people want to be involved in, so I'm not going to cover it. And there is no greater death sentence for pop culture than having this, what we're doing right now, and then completely avoiding Andor. And a lot of people just don't want to be a part of it.
But so here it is, right? It's not getting hate online, right? But I have to tell you, there are many Star Wars fans who exist in this franchise that never tweet nothing, that never do any apps, nothing, right? That just love the franchise. And so their voices aren't heard in this sphere that we operate in, but it doesn't mean they're not watching. It doesn't mean they don't have an opinion.
Well, I think the numbers, like we've said, have shown that you don't have to be involved with YouTube to have Star Wars apathy. I think a lot of people have just checked out, whether they're in the YouTube space or the pop culture, you know,
but
whatever you want to call it, the globe.
those numbers only exist in the online space, right? And I'm with you, right? There is evidence of apathy.
Well, Nielsen doesn't beholden itself to YouTube.
Yeah, but from the Nielsen perspective, right? While it didn't perform as well as we might have hoped, it performed, right? People are watching it, right? People, it's not killing it, right? And that's where I'm like, we sensationalize some of the sound bites, and I get it, right? That's the sphere that we all live in.
My only pushback here is that a show that is well written the way it is, the show that we've been given is a good Star Wars show, in my opinion. Now you can call that, subjective if you want to. In my opinion, compared to the other stuff that we've gotten a good show here from Star Wars. If you have a good Star Wars show, that should be at number 1. 100% of the time. It should be at number 1. I understand it's 2022 and Dahmer is just topping every chart.
Listen, as someone who
eating
lives
body
through-
parts, I'm just saying, like, Star Wars should be there.
Can I get a witness from Coach and Nick as folks who've lived through Dahmer, right? I don't want to watch Dahmer anymore.
I lived through it too.
No more Dahmer, right?
I watched the whole thing, man.
I haven't.
My wife
seen
was
it.
like totally into
Nope,
it.
I don't have a stomach strong not enough to watch.
I
that.
watched
rather
it.
watch you.
I'm not watching it.
I was old
I
enough
don't.
for that.
I don't have a strong stomach.
It was a crazy show. It wasn't as good as Andor.
No.
All right. X-Wing, thank you. X-Wing, you can stay or go. It's up to you. I got a
boot scoot. I got 30 minutes.
I'll see you soon.
I have to eat something before
Yeah,
I'm on.
go.
So everybody's had a chance to talk except for Whitesnake, right?
Well, I have to the White Snake, and then Nick showed up. I don't know if we.
We ain't worried about what Nick has to say.
Okay, well, White Snake.
Yeah, I'm just here.
All right,
And so
everybody
before
have a good night.
See you, X-Wing.
See ya.
All right, so we are going to
Wait.
give her the stage.
Wait,
Bam. Let's
time
do
out.
this.
I'm out before White Snake in 30 minutes ish. If you all want to come and join me and X-Wing on his channel,
Yeah, absolutely.
more talking.
Nobody's gonna watch that.
I know. All right, White Snake.
I'll
Come
watch
on.
X-Wing.
Good to
Come
see
on,
you.
Becky, give it to us.
Okay, so can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Five. Keep going.
So I have been in Europe in 6 different countries for the past month. And
Nice.
so I've been away from television, which has done me a lot of good.
Yeah. it does.
Tell me in a few sentences why I should invest the time to watch Andor. Plead your case. If you feel it's worth pleading for. And I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but I have become a much more discriminatory with my time. And so I'm limiting the programs that I want to invest time in. So what are some reasons that I should watch Andor?
So
And,
if you've been out of the country and
Yes.
you've missed entertainment for the last several weeks,
Oh no, I had plenty of entertainment, but it just wasn't on the television.
well, I'm talking about pop culture entertainment.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So the very first thing that I would say is you got to watch House of the Dragon. That's
And
the
I've done that. Binged
and
that
Andor
today.
Andor
was
would be down the list for me.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Everybody else?
It's a good series.
I haven't watched it, so I only have about 3 streaming services.
House of the Dragon is amazing. Werewolf by Night is pretty darn good. Andor is up there with those, but has been overshadowed by Hot D and the god-awful, not Tolkien Rings of Power.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that. I have no desire to see that, nor have I watched She-Hulk.
I would rather
I haven't
scoop out
watched
my
any of
eyeballs
those.
with a rusty spoon than watch that.
So I guess
Well,
my
I
question is, should
cannot-
I invest more time in Disney with this Star Wars franchise?
John
cannot
and Matt
recommend-
Rissman can probably give the best
No,
case
I
for
was
watching it.
I was just going to say I cannot recommend Werewolf by Night enough. Right, of all the Marvel properties they put on Disney Plus, even as much as I've liked Loki and of course WandaVision also pretty okay. Werewolf by Night, they did a really good job, right? Especially this time of year, if you want a treat,
Yeah, it
watch
was good.
Werewolf by Night. Right. In regards to Andor, I think for me, as a unabashed Empire shill, right? I mean, it's here with me. Oh, I can't. It's here with me every day of my life, right? As an unabashed Empire shill, right? I've really enjoyed the intrigue behind how the rebellion's been rising, what's been going on behind the scenes with the Empire, and all the rest of it. But it is a very cerebral series,
Yes.
right? It's
Yeah.
a dramatic interpretation of the Star Wars universe. It's not pew pew. It's not lightsabers flying. It's not Jedi versus Sith. If we see Palpatine, by the way, I think there'll be two ways we might see him. Number one, propaganda, hologram, holonet, see something, say something. The rebellion is not good, right? Or we could see him as a statesman, right? We could see him as the emperor, not as the Sith Lord, red lightsaber, I am the Senate, right? As, this is the kind of story they're telling, right? In Andor. So you have to be really invested in the dramatic part of it. And as Robert Meyer Renette was saying, he's like, we've seen the star. This is the wars, right? This is how all of it's going on from behind the scenes, and the Empire coming into power, and really the Iron Fist, and it's going to slip through your fingers, and all of that is what they're telling now. But it's not fun, right? This is not a happy series, right? This isn't Grogu and his dad, going out and having adventures, right? This is a very sad time in the galaxy, right? And if
More of a tragedy.
if you're into that, great. But a lot of folks are like, I live in a depressing enough situation. I don't want to watch. I'm watching. This is not an escape for me. And I personally think that's why it's not hitting for folks. But for me, I'm like, this is exactly what I would expect to be going on at this point. And so Gilroy, for me, has been killing it in that writing.
White Snake.
As much as Nick might hate to hear it, no one's going to show up on a Vespa scooter, right?
Yeah.
There's not going to be any weird.
Yeah, just watch what you say about Vespa scooters. Right, that one, because I got one. So, but I'm just teasing. But
Yeah,
so you're
no.
telling me, Matt, that this show is written in a kind of a completely different what I want to say, perspective, or a different
Format.
flavor or color.
Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for Red October. Great.
Hunt for Red
Yeah,
October.
and I'm all for that. I don't need
Yep.
to have rocks being levitated, and not that that's a bad thing, but and
Listen. The guy who wrote it is
stuff like
responsible
that.
for. He's responsible for the Bourne movies. He's responsible for Michael Clayton, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not going to have rocks flying around and little silliness of Boba Fett shaking a droid saying, "Do you know who I am?
Right,
What are you doing?"
Can I break in here for a second? So I've heard some people say that they think this show is a slow build up, tense moment, build up, boom. That's what they think is going to happen. And I've heard, and the people who are saying that is this gentleman right here that he just highlighted. Matt just highlighted Thrawn's comment. Thrawn likened the Andor series to Timothy Zahn's writing.
Okay.
So Becky, if there's going to be anything that's going to pull you into it, I think that might do it. I think you might enjoy that aspect of it.
It's like Thrawn's first book. It's like the first book of Thrawn.
Gilroy had 1,500 pages
Harry
of
the Empire?
script.
Yeah.
1,500. This isn't a fly by night, I don't know what I'm doing prospect, right? Whether you buy into the story or not, he's like, not only did I have 1,500 pages of script for this, he said, but I've got it for the next season as well, right? He's like, I've got this, right? And if you're invested in following along in that journey, awesome, right? But that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, right? We've been jonesing for someone who's like, I have a plan. We're executing against the plan. I have the resources to do it. Physical sets. I don't like the volume. The orchestra is on site. The costumes are amazing. I'm still in love with Mon Mothma. That was editorializing. Sorry. You know, if the whole that stuff. You know what I mean? That's why, for me, I would say check it out.
You might have a different feel for it too, because all of us, we did not get to experience it the way that you will. Opening night we did. We got to watch the first 3 episodes, but you could go watch the first 7 episodes. We haven't been able to do that. Like, so that would offer you a totally different feel than what we've gotten, I think.
White Snake, do you remember in Rogue One? Did you see the movie Rogue One?
Oh yes, I have it.
Do you remember when Cassian Andor was talking to Jen Erso and telling her what it was like when he was a child?
Yes.
And the things he had seen. He brings that out so much in this. You can see it in his face, the way he's acting. Diego Luna. It really is good. But there's something else to watch too. There's a character called Nemec. The things that he does in this movie, I think, carries out about the rebellion. He's an important character just to watch him. That alone brings out so much of what the show really is about. So, I mean, that's my take. I'm retired. I don't need to get up at 2:30 in the morning to get ready to watch it. I look forward to it. I could have stopped. I mean, yeah, there was some, you know, it's not the same feeling I have when I get up to watch Mando, but I really set my alarm and look forward to getting up at 2:45 in the morning here where I live, to get up and set up and get ready to watch it. It's pulled me to that far that I look forward to it. And even being retired, I can still
I don't even know what night it's on.
Tuesday night,
morning.
Wednesday mornings.
So
okay.
Whatever time it is, they release it at midnight California time.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I just finished episode. I watched all 3 through 9 of House of the Dragon. I finished that this evening, and I know it's probably comparing apples to oranges, but if it's a quality show with good writing, a good story, and keeps the viewer's interest, then yes, I will watch it. But if it's garbage, I'll go read my Holocaust book or something.
The intrigue in Andor is Game of Thrones level intrigue.
Yeah,
like,
I need
there are
something
people
intellectually
backstab and stuff like
stimulating.
that. Then you need to watch this show.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you like Hunt for Red October or Clear and Present Danger? Did you ever watch those?
No.
Hunt for Red October with Alec Baldwin and Sean Connery. It's
Oh my
the
God, that's amazing.
Tom Clancy book, or Clear and Present Danger, where Jack Ryan's character is introduced. If you love that style of movie, that's this show. But at the same time, but yeah, it's not. Bourne is a little bit more actiony and people jumping out of windows and doing cartwheels and backflips and kung fu fighting. That's not really this. It really is more Hunt for Red October, where it's a lot of Hunt for Red October. It's a lot of backroom CIA, planning and plotting, and then something big happens, and then everybody's reacting to that. It's the same type of spycraft. But when people are comparing it to House of the Dragon, the palace intrigue and the seriousness of House of the Dragon translates also to this show. It's a very serious, dramatic show. It's not lighthearted at all. So what back to something that Rissman and X-Wing were saying, a lot of my friends who are not like big YouTube people in the YouTube sphere, but they're absolute diehard Star Wars fans that I talk with, they're all loving the show. Now, if I talk to the normies that maybe watch the movies, they haven't even paid attention to it. They don't even know it's on. It's not even in their heads. But my friends who are like the diehard people that I've run into in life, and I say, hey, you catching the show? And they're like, they're like, Kenobi, Boba Fett sucked, blah, 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 blah. They're loving this. They're like, yeah, at first they just wanted it to pick up a little bit more, but every week I check in with them and they're like, yeah, we're loving this show.
So John's point is interesting, right? Do we, my biggest, if I had to give a big issue about this show, right? I don't understand how this show attracts new fans to the franchise. Right, and earlier today on Robert Meyer Burnett's stream, or last night on Midnight Music, so I was watching something, and there was a comment made that was like, what about Star Wars fans who enter the franchise on 2 seasons of Andor, Rogue One, leading into the original trilogy? And for me, I was like, that's a really weird thought for me. Right. I don't know how, as much as I love the series, right? For me, either Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi had a better opportunity of attracting new fans, or of course Mandalorian, granted, but had a better chance of attracting fans into the franchise than Andor does, right? I'm kind of like, are they? Do you all agree with me? I'm like, is it satisfying that part of the equation, right? Because again, I just keep thinking about my mother. She's like, this series is sad, right? Not sad from a writing perspective, but just dreary.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, this is for us.
I have.
How does it attract fans into the franchise? And if it doesn't, does that make it successful?
Let's hear from Thrawn.
I was going to say, I have a coworker who has not seen any Star Wars that started watching this because of Gilroy, because of the Bourne series. He loves the Bourne series, and his whole family is now watching this because of the Bourne series. So there are fans like that. I don't know how many they are, but
what are they thinking?
They're loving it. They absolutely love it, and they're sci-fi fans too.
Do you think this fellow that you're speaking of, who loves Gilroy, will this help him become a Star Wars fan, Thrawn?
So he wants to see Rogue One now, but he wants to wait until this is over now. So, he says, well, I do want to see where this goes, but now I'm afraid to see what happens, because he doesn't even know what happens, which is that's how far removed he is from Star Wars, which is really out there.
Has he watched the original trilogy?
He said he saw the original trilogy when he was younger once.
Because imagine going from this series into Rogue One and then straight into A New Hope.
Yep.
That's exactly what Robert Meyer Burnett was like. He was like, he's like, I try to, he's like, I try and abstract myself. I'm like, if I did all that, I was like, he's like, wow.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, talk about a progression. Right. For the rest of us, we're like, that's weird. Right. I mean, the original trilogy, goated. Right. The first thing ever. Right. But again, that's what I'm saying. I always put myself into what perpetuates the franchise, right? What builds it up? What makes other folks love it? How does it all work together? Right. And that's why I'd love to hear what Thrawn is saying, right? Because I'm kind of like, Andor, for making new fans, it might be a tough sell.
Yeah, and for reference,
I
this
agree.
is someone who I believe he's probably in his late 50s. So I wonder if that's the demographic too, like the older group of people that are, really hadn't seen Star Wars but love spy thrillers. If that attracts them. But then again, the other point to that is, how many of those people have Disney Plus?
I have Disney Plus.
No, there are barriers to entry, right? There's barriers to entry on this series, but I want the franchise to thrive, right? So, for me, I'm like, I want people to find Star Wars in whatever way they want to find it, right? Again, Andor is it's kind of a slog, right? I mean, as far as fun things go. All right, so we had one new joiner, Stud. Does it say Stud? Is that John Graver? You look taller because the camera is closer. I think you're trying to make yourself look. You're trying to make yourself look taller.
How's that?
Oh no, that's bad.
The,
That's bad.
Lord of the Rings camera angle.
This is not EBN After Dark. We can't do that.
We're going to end the stream before we go after dark.
I know. Come on now. Come on.
Coach.
I can't believe that's going.
We're still here. So before we go back to Stud, Thrawn, welcome. What else do you have to say about the series and how you're finding it personally, and anything else you want to tell us?
Well, I caught Coach mentioning about how I really do see it as something that Zahn would write in a lot of respects. The difference is, the medium, obviously, right? So with a book, I think people expect that kind of pacing. I think in a series, they're not necessarily expecting it. Additionally, there's the aspect of it that, there's that mysticism that perpetuates the Star Wars universe and kind of makes it less science fiction and more science fantasy. That's not necessarily here. This feels very pure science fiction. So I can understand what's off-putting to certain people. And that's not necessarily all that's off-putting, but I feel like those are the things that, in hearing people talk about what they like and don't like about this series, that's the differentiator. But for me, it's great. I mean, I listen to Zahn audiobooks, to and from work and when I'm on trips. And this is akin to that, right? So this is with the visuals and everything to boot. So I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this. I do want more treatment like this in the fantasy elements of the universe. So I want to see the Jedi and the Sith treated like this, where the Sith aren't just the bad guys, right? The things that we've seen in the old Republic games, right? This is the kind of tone that I think a lot of us have been waiting for, and the treatment of Star Wars that we've seen in books for years that we're now getting on screen. So yeah, so loving it and hoping for more. That's all I can say.
The Acolyte, I believe, was supposed to be this, but with the Sith. Originally, I don't know what's going on with that now. I mean, it's still up in the air. The last I heard, but I mean, originally, I'm pretty sure that this is what, like the Acolyte was supposed to be this, but told from the dark side point of view type deal.
Can I say so? So what Thrawn was just saying, before he even said that, when you guys were speaking before, I was thinking about this, and I was like, man, if they were ever to adapt Plagueis, this is the tone I would want for Plagueis. I want to see, because Plagueis is all about taking Palpatine and the bureaucracy and the darkness. I mean, just the inner workings of that, and the corporate world and the banking and all that. And it just has that seriousness. But if you think back to the Thrawn novel, the self-titled one, not the one before Alliances, but just the story and the chapters of Thrawn rising through the ranks of the Imperial Academy and dealing with all the other officers, and the cutthroatness was exactly like what you were seeing in the ISB conference with the officers going after each other. And I couldn't agree more with, I mean, this is so those books, just that tone. And he's exactly right. This is the tone I've just wanted. Can you imagine if we had a dark Boba Fett bounty hunting mafia style seriousness like this?
Would have been better.
Oh God, it would have been incredible.
And on this point, right, the Acolyte might still be a treat, right? The Skeleton Crew series might still be very, very interesting, because those are original properties, right? I can't speak to who's writing what and the rest of it. And I know there's been some press, at least on The Acolyte, right? But on John's point, there are interesting stories that can be told, but the barrier to entry is always, can Disney Star Wars tell those stories?
Yeah.
Right. And how are they going to be written? And is it going to be very story focused, versus, some of the rest of the stuff that we've been getting? And I think we have to see.
I think that comes down to who they hire. Look who they hired for this, Tony Gilroy. I mean, they've given so many outsiders and people that had this is the difference between hiring serious seasoned professionals in the motion picture industry and giving those shots to people that just want to kind of go out on a whim. Like,
so for Becky's perspective, the Whites make the most interesting thing about this is they didn't hire Tony Gilroy, right? They had a whole other story. They were going to tell a Cassian and K2SO buddy cop going around the galaxy doing things story, and KK sent it to Gilroy, and she's like, "What do you think about this?" And he said, "I think it sucks." Right? Not only did he say he thought it sucked, but he sent back an epistle about why he thought it sucked. Right? And what he would have done.
Well, good for him.
How he would have approached it. And then she was like, it wasn't immediate. She was kind of like, allegedly, right? From what I've read.
It's interesting. He said something to the effect of, the problem with your story is you're going to run out of story really fast.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Coach.
It's not sustainable, right? And so they left him be, and they went away and they worked on it. They worked on it, and then they came back and they're like, "You're kind of right. Do you want to? Is there a? What do you?" He's like, "Yeah, I got this." He's like, "I got this." Right. And then here we are. Right. And that's the kind of thing that I hope we continue to see. Right. And who's writing these subsequent programs?
Well, all I can say is if they go on with a Thrawn series, I would hope that they would have sense enough to get Mr. Zahn involved with it, since he is the creator of the character and wrote the books, which are outstanding. And who knows? But I will give this Andor a gander. I'll watch it in at least a few episodes and see if it is my
come back next week and tell us what you thought.
Yeah, I'll definitely have a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
So,
I'd love to hear it.
And so, well, Nick, do you have anything to say? Oh, I hate to ask, but Nick, are you there? Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just sitting here doing some mod changes on my Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes game.
Nice.
But
Yeah,
anyways, John knows what I'm talking about. He plays.
Yeah, we got to do a live stream about that. Break it down to everybody.
So tell us, Nick. Tell us, does it suck? How bad does it suck?
I don't think the show sucks. I just don't think it's good Star Wars for me. I said this in another video in another stream that I feel like they took the fun in the fantasy element out of Star Wars with this show. It's very different. But there's stuff I like that, and me and Matt talked about this. But last week's episode, in episode 6, where the TIE fighter pilots were boarding the TIE fighters, like that's like probably one of the coolest moments in the show for me. I haven't seen episode 7 yet. I tried watching it, but I fell asleep, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So I'll probably watch it on the way home, in the car or something, or I don't know, at some point in time. But I don't I don't hate it. There's not really a whole lot for me to trash on this show about. I just don't. It's just not working for me as Star Wars right now. But we'll see what happens the further that the show goes along, and of course we got season 2 coming out. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of meh on it, and I know there's a lot of people out there liking it, but I know there's also from my understanding, there's not a whole lot of people out there. I think Valiant put it pretty well in his last video where he was talking about it, where he said, there's people that are enjoying Andor. There's just not enough of you.
So Nick, how would you rate Andor in comparison to
Don't ask.
Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett?
I like it better than Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. Because, and the thing is, I said this before the show even came out. If this really isn't that good of a show, it's not really going to be that big of a deal, because it's not a whole lot of legacy characters like Kenobi or Boba Fett or any of that. If it's just kind of meh, you're not really going to get a lot of backlash from this show. If it's not that good, and that's the thing. I mean, you don't really hear a whole lot of people just completely trashing on this show. Like they were with Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi.
So I do want to point out one thing. So there was an article that the person who put out the Twitter metrics was off.
Mm-hmm.
And
he whoopsied, right? That guy whoopsied.
Yeah. So the corrected demand is over the past 30 days as of October 20th. So 30 days before that, right? The demand for Andor was quote unquote 31.3 times higher than the average streaming show at the moment. And then in context, but against the big boys, right? So they compared it to something like Rings of Power, which is got a much broader audience. Apparently that doubled Andor's viewership numbers. So that's what you're comparing. So maybe for a Star Wars show, this isn't as impressive. But apparently it's doing pretty darn well, at least compared to how it was initially pitched. That's not saying it can't get better or shouldn't be doing better for a Star Wars show, but that is something to point out.
No, I'm with you. Well, thanks everyone. So, Coach, we've been going for a minute. Gracious,
we've been going.
I just looked at the thing on the left.
Almost 4 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
gracious sakes. I think we should probably bring it to a close.
I think it is. I think it's time. Does anybody have a parting shot they'd like to throw out there?
We need a mascot.
The goat. The goat's
the goat.
The goat. Yeah, that has been tweeted in the chat.
I'll let you take that up with Nick. Nick's gonna say no to the goat. I guarantee.
I love the screaming goat.
Yeah.
I think it's a great mascot.
I love the screaming goat too. I find it hilarious.
What about the demon goat from when they were on that planet on Andor?
I think that's what it is.
I agree with Debbie on this one.
Yay!
Yeah, I don't know.
All right,
well, guys. Thank y'all for being here. This has been a great pop-in session.
It was
We'll
great.
be back next weekend. We'll have pop-ins again. We're gonna have more to talk about with Tales of the Jedi dropping. So everybody be ready. We'll see you guys on Saturday night next week, and we'll be getting content out throughout the week. So we love you guys. As we always say, we are your Echo Base Network. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you, Matt Rissman, for everything.
Peace and love, all. My pleasure.
Yep.
Good night. Love you all.
Goodbye, Stud of Studs. Goodbye, John. Goodbye, everybody. Ghost Rider. See you guys. Bye, Mary.
You all be well.
Bye, Becky.
Bye.
See you, Fat Tony. Bye, Mama
Live
Bear.
long and prosper.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Nick, you suck. See y'all.
See you guys.
Later.